You're listening to the JR Sport Brief.
It is the JR Sport Brief Show here with you coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you to everybody listening to the show all over North America.
We are live on HBCU Coach's Corner. We're live on 94.5 HD Sports Talk Radio. We are here. I'm here, Rocky Miller. I'm coming to you live right here from Waco, Texas. We have Coach Campbell coming to you live from the great state of Georgia in the ATL. And we have Coach Cole coming to you live. He had to do a brief relocation. He's at Mom's house. No, Coach. Tell him where you are, Coach.
Look, you hit it right over there. I'm at Mama's house. Yeah. And when you at Mama's house, you come to get clean, come get your mind straight, your mind right, so you can go back and deal with these folks out there. You got to go back to where you started from.
And where is Mama's house located, Coach? That's what I wanted to get.
Dayton, Ohio, baby. When they played the first NFL football game. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
And they call it the Professional Athletic League. I got to make sure I get it. But yeah, they played the first NFL football game here in my hometown when they start off the NFL. So we got a lot going on here, and let me read it for you. It says, where's the first NFL game? The first NFL game was played on October the 3rd, 1920 in Triangle Park. Matter of fact, I was out there on my bike. When you go back home, you go back to those old ways, Coach Campbell. I had to, ride with my bro. We rode out 26 miles today. But it was at Triangle Park in Dayton, Ohio. The Dayton Triangles hosted the Columbus Panhandles, and won the game 14-0. The NFL was founded in 1920 in Canton, Ohio, as the American Professional Football Association.
So it was founded in Canton, but y'all played the first game in Dayton?
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach.
The league's first president was Jim Thorpe, as an American athlete who also played in the league. The NFL adopted its current name in 1922. And that part where I was just talking about, me and my brother went over there, it's holy ground. And they couldn't build the stadium. They played on the ground, but they couldn't build a stadium there because it was owned by Indians at the time.
The interesting thing I found out is that watching this documentary called the Black Quarter, the Evolution of the Black Quarterback, I found out that the NFL was actually integrated in the 20s.
Yeah.
And then at some point in the late 20s, it deintegrated, segregated, and it eliminated black players from playing. And then for about 15 years, they didn't have any black players in the league. And then in 1946, they reintegrated players. So that was interesting that the league started off with black players being able to play. However, it went through a period of segregation and then reintegration. So,
yeah. Well, aviation was started from here as well with the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And that's your moment in history coming from Dayton, Ohio.
At Mama's house.
At Mama's house. All right. Hey, Coach Campbell.
Yes, sir.
You've been working this week, and you just wasn't in Tallahassee. You just wasn't in Montgomery enjoying yourself. You was out working, and you managed to get us an amazing guest, somebody who would add value to the show. And before, I'll go ahead and step aside and let you introduce our next guest.
Well, first of all, this is HBCU Coach's Corner with Johnny Cole. Now, Coach, not only do we have coaches, top-notch coaches, championship coaches, not only do we have ADs, Coach, but because we don't do barbershop talk here. We get people that know the game and report on the game. So once again, even though it's called Coach's Corner, coaches get written about. So I am proud to bring on And I'm gonna say his full name because the boy got a third bouncer. That means his daddy and his granddad got a day. Gerald Thomas III, Florida A&M beat writer from the Tallahassee Democrats.
What's going on, everybody, man? I'm happy to be here. I see I got the homecoming killer. Met the homecoming killer over the weekend for the first time. And it was a good time, man. It was a good time over in Montgomery. And I appreciate y'all for having me on the show.
But Gerald, I want to kind of lay this out. I've been able to, back in my older days, I respect black sports writers because they were the ones that really told our stories. And I don't know, this might be before your time, but Coach is going to know this name. There's a great HBCU sports writer, Roscoe Nance. Are you familiar with who Roscoe Nance is, Gerald?
I think that predated me a little bit.
Exactly. But here's the thing. This. I want you to Google who Roscoe Nance. He was the preeminent black college sports writer that started, again, he wrote for the Clarion Ledger and wrote for the USA Today all the way through until God took him on. But he was the one that told our stories. Bill Shannon, which I believe was the scout, right, Coach, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was in Pittsburgh for the Pittsburgh Courier, if I believe. Bill Nunn, not Bill. It's going to come to me. We'll make sure I get that name right. But the reason why I say this, Gerald, I'm glad to have you on because you represent us. And you're telling our story from your point of view. He also is a man of Alpha Phi, so I'm going to give him credit for that, too, and stuff like that. But, Gerald, we appreciate you having us on. And really what I wanted to start off with is tell us, first of all, how did you become the beat writer for FAMU? And then kind of talk to about what you saw at the game this weekend.
Yeah, so, I got the beat writer job simple. Applied for it, got contacted, and, they said, you want to come cover FAMU for us? And I said, of course. It was a great opportunity. I was, maybe 2 years out of college by then. So went down the road to Valdosta State University and got my mass media degree and took the job to cover FAMU and came down here to cover the 2022 season. And then next thing you know, I was enrolling in school at FAMU. It was a long time coming. It's crazy because I still remember when I got the job off of the cover FAMU. I still remember my dad asked me. He said, "You remember when you was in high school and you wanted to go to school there?" And now it's like you still getting taken to Tallahassee. So it was like a full circle moment. So, this is my third football season here covering FAMU. It's been a blast, man. Just covering these celebration bowls and SWAC championships. For baseball, I got to go to the national tournament when they played in Gainesville. So, man, it's just been a great ride.
But that's awesome. So, Gerald, you were there, and I got to meet you. Like I said, big fan of your writing. You were there covering the game. Alabama State, Florida A&M, big game, big SWAC game, first SWAC game for FAMU. Alabama State preseason East, predicted preseason East champs. Tell us your thoughts of the game and how it turned out, and what do you see going forward for the Rattlers?
Yeah, it was as always. FAMU and Alabama State, they always fit the bill. It's always a very competitive game when these two teams have met. The last 3 seasons that they've played against each other. It was a good game. It was first off, let me start off by saying it was a great environment, homecoming environment. It was a great environment. I got to walk around the tailgate a little bit and kind of just peep the scene a little bit. That's one thing I like to do when I go to these opposing stadiums. I like to really see what the vibes are, and it was very good vibes. I got to meet the Alphas. The Alphas there at Alabama State, so it was good meeting them. And then game wise, it was a good game. I knew Alabama State would make FAMU sweat a little bit, but also I think FAMU of course this isn't the team that we all expected Alabama State to have at this time, but it's still a very good team. Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. he makes do it. Yeah, he had a wide receiver playing quarterback. So very good game, and you kind of see the trend that FAMU has had over the last few seasons of being a second half team. I believe they outscored Alabama State 21-6 in the second half. Finally got a turnover. Finally forced a turnover. Got 3 of them actually. So you may see FAMU turning the corner. That was a good time to go into the bye week. Now they don't have to go another week with me asking when they're gonna get their first interception. So yeah, man, it definitely lived up to it. It was a very good game and a very good experience for me personally.
Okay, I'm gonna let you guys ask a couple of questions. Go ahead, Rocky.
Now, Gerald, this team came in with pretty high expectations coming off of Black College National Championship.
Mhm.
And we know the struggles this team has had in the games this year. Can you tell us the compare and contrast the difference between just the mood around the team from last year versus what the temperature and mood of the team is this year? Is there any difference seeing that Coach Simmons has moved on and now Coach Cozy's at the helm along with two new coordinators? So can you kind of compare and contrast?
Yeah, well, I'll quote what Eddie Robinson Jr. said last week. He said, they still winning. They still winning. But it's crazy because it's when Coach Simmons was here, FAMU had a good offense, but they were more so a defensive team. And they had those defenses that were in the top of the nation. Last year they finished second in the nation, but also had a good offense too. But the defense was the calling card, was the rock of the team. And this year, and Coach Simmons was an offensive-minded coach. Now, this year, you have a defensive-minded coach in Coach James Cozy, who was a standout for the Florida State Seminoles. But it seemed like FAMU is more so of an offensive team this year. So I don't know how that dynamic works out, but I always say a good quarterback covers a multitude of sins, and Daniel Richardson, he's been a guy that's immediately has come in and made an impact for FAMU. It kind of sucks that this is his last year because you only get to see 1 year of this, and it would be so interesting to see him come back with an off season in that system. But that's just the way things go. And I know he'll move on in his life and do bigger and better things. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the obvious thing is the offense and defense trade off. But I think seeing the defense, I feel Alabama State, they broke that long run on the first or second drive with first quarter. I'm not sure what drive it was, and then it seemed like FAMU kind of had them shut down for the remainder of that. So maybe they're kind of getting their run defense kind of settled. That's been the main issue for FAMU this time around. So I think this bye week could do them some well, but also they got a dynamic offense that they got to face next week in Jackson State, and Jackson State also has a pretty good defense too. I believe their defense is top 10 in the nation, so they got to make sure they getting down and dirty this week and make sure they utilize this bye week correctly and productively.
You mentioned something that I was going to bring up. It seemed like they did struggle even against a very one-dimensional team. It seemed that FAMU struggled to stop the football against Alabama State. This is something that Coach Cole addressed in the first game of the season directly with Coach Cole in a press conference.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like it's the Achilles heel of the team. Do you foresee this particular Achilles heel causing them to be upset or make them vulnerable moving forward? I'll just say like that.
Yeah, well, until FAMU prove that they can stop the run consistently, teams are going to continue to try to run on. Norfolk State opened up the floodgates for that. I mean, then you saw South Carolina State do it, and I mean, they played 2 FBS games, so of course the FBS team is going to try to run the ball a little bit and kind of try to preserve a little bit of their players with injuries and all that type of stuff. And then you return back to FCS play, SWAC play, and Alabama State does it too. So until FAMU can show that they can stop that run, and I really feel like they made a step in showing that they can do that, because Alabama State had, I believe, 145 yards. All of them were rushing, by the way. Alabama State had 0 passing yards in the first half. I'm not sure if y'all knew that or not. But Alabama State had 145 rushing yards and total yards in the first half, and then in the second half they only had 69 of them. So FAMU has always been one of those teams that make those adjustments. I still remember last year when FAMU played at Texas Southern, and Texas Southern had Ladarius Owens, and he was, man, hey, that game was feeling like an L just off of what Owens was doing to the FAMU defense, and that was the second best defense in the nation. So some teams are just going to have good running schemes. But I think what FAMU showed and being able to stop those dynamic backs in that second half against Alabama State, I think that's a sign to be optimistic.
Well, and last question, I'll let Coach Cole have. Do you know if the coaching staff thinks it's a personnel issue or a scheme issue?
I mean, FAMU usually runs a lot of FAMU defensive line is typically a lot of rotational pieces. So I think it may be a scheme issue more so. I know they say, the guys are kind of setting the fronts the wrong way and all those type of things, just the beginning of the season. So I think it's more scheme wise. I think those guys in the front, they're talented players. I mean, guys like James Ash, he's gonna big 6'4" guy pushing 300. He's gonna clog the holes, and then they got the guys on the edge, the Allen Smiths, the Westmorelands. Then they got Cam Donald in the middle, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. So I hope these guys don't see this and be like, man, you forgot about me. But that just shows how many guys that they got that they can put in those places. So I think once they kind of get more consistent in putting those guys in the right spots, and this is a coaching thing, I think they're gonna be fine. I think they're gonna when it's all said and done, I think the run defense woes will be behind them.
Coach, you gonna answer a question?
We can't hear you. Go ahead.
Y'all can't hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Get the thing straight over there, Mike.
I got you, Coach.
Can you hear me, Mr. Thomas? Coach,
Yeah, I can hear you some of you.
Look, you've been beat writer for 3 years. Y'all won the championship last year. It was tough the year before. Is it harder to write about this team or report about this team than last year? Because last year y'all kind of just cakewalked through the league. It wasn't. This year, this team is struggling every week. And then I'm gonna tell you my prediction, and I know you guys ain't gonna like it, but is it tougher to write about this team?
I mean, it has its challenges, but it poses the same challenges that it did when I first got here. Just because you're learning a whole new team. When I got here in 2022, I had to kind of go off of last year, the previous year's stats and things like that, just because I was new here. Sometimes the stats don't tell the whole story. You may think a guy is, might not be as impactful, but he's one of the top guys on the team. So, the stats don't tell the whole story. But this year might be a little more challenging because it's such a new look team. It's a revamped coaching staff. So, I mean, it's been times when I've been at games and I see a person make a play, and I'm like, I'm like, who is it? You know what I mean? So you run into those moments, but I mean, it's the fun of it. It's kind of, I got to work with Coach Simmons for 2 years, and it was extraordinary. Just seeing how he went about business, and I was happy, to see him move on and try to still accomplish his dreams. And I also was happy to see Cozy get the job. I remember when, I've been at FAMU longer than Cozy. I remember when Cozy first got the job. I beat him here by a few months. I remember when he first got the job of coaching the cornerbacks and interviewing him there. So it's kind of cool seeing maybe how things are a little different, So it's a challenge covering any team. It's a challenge covering any team, but this might be the most challenging team that I had to cover just because there's so many moving parts and you have so little time to get so many stories out and just catch on to a lot of things.
Yeah, I was looking at the stats, and Alabama State finished the game with 279, but Florida A&M finished the game with 308.
Yeah.
So when you look at our conference, number one defense in our conference is Alabama State.
Mm-hmm.
Number one offense in our conference is Jackson State.
Yep.
As you said, stats don't tell the whole story, but they do tell part of it.
Right.
So Florida A&M is not hobbling through. You know, they're not running through. They're getting through. And at the end of the day, you're right. Stats don't count. The only stat count is win and loss. But when I look at Jackson State, they lost to Grambling. They had over 400 yards offense. That's where they are averaging, and over 30 points. But the problem was stats. It was 5 turnovers. They run the ball well as throw it. Alabama State, which plays great defense, held you guys for 300 yards. But we all know that they don't have a quarterback. You know, everybody taking a snap.
Yeah.
So when I look at all that, I said, this is what I think. I think that Jackson State is going to beat Florida A&M because Jackson State, all the games that Florida A&M has won, doesn't have an explosive offense as Jackson State. And right now, Florida A&M is playing great. They're winning with great coaching. They got a great quarterback, but they just ain't blowing it away. Would you agree?
Hey, I would not argue. I would not argue with you. I mean, before the season, I did my preseason predictions game by game, and I had FAMU dropping that game at Jackson State. I had that game.
But I see Alabama State beat Jackson State. That's how I think it's gonna roll out. And the only way Alabama State won't, and I just don't think they're playing great defense. They've always played great defense.
Yeah.
It's Coach Robinson been there. And I think they're just as good as Grambling, but of course the difference is the quarterback. But I see it like that. You know, what are your thoughts? You know, because Florida A&M is impressive because they make great adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
They're a championship program, and some of them games they just took the game.
Right.
I think this game at Alabama State, they just didn't dominate. They took the game.
Yeah.
So, what's you the beat writer? What you think about that?
Yeah, like I was saying, that was a game that in my preseason predictions, I predicted FAMU to drop that game. Now I said just because they dropped the game don't mean that they can't win the SWAC. It's going, somebody going to have to knock off Jackson a couple of times or something like that. Or they're going to. This is the point of the year that to me this makes or break FAMU season. If they can get out of this, they beat Alabama State already. That was one game everybody talked about. Jackson State is coming up. If they beat Jackson State, I think they're playing in December still, in my opinion. But also,
without a doubt, I don't see nobody else beating them.
Yeah,
because you got to have a run game, and when you look at our conference, of course Jackson State got a run game. Florida A&M Alabama State got a run game. Everybody else is
right.
You know, when I look at the team stats in our conference, you know, of course, I don't know if you know, I coached in our conference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the numbers are down and they're even across the board. You know, I played during the Jerry Rice days, and then I coached during the Pete Richardson and those days in Comedy, where they, you know, you could see those numbers. You know, you had 3,000-yard passes,
right,
1,000, 1,500-yard rushes. You don't see that now. And I know the game changed, but you would think that because the game is spread, that you would see those numbers, but you ain't seeing those numbers. Matter of fact, we talk on our show all the time. You know, I hated all these two quarterback systems. I think Florida A&M is the only one got the quarterback that don't took every snap.
Right.
So, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's definitely. Hold on, I'm putting my laptop on the charger so it don't down, y'all.
Oh. Okay.
Well, Gerald, the way y'all making it seem is if Jackson State wins on the 19th, then if FAMU wins on the 19th, they can make their appointment in the Celebration Bowl. Y'all can start booking rooms for Atlanta. And you know what? To be perfectly honest with you guys, I agree. Because that means they would have to lose 3 times between Southern, Texas Southern, Prairie View, Mississippi Valley, Bethune-Cookman, and A&M. And they can't, and all those teams are struggling.
Right.
All of them.
Yeah.
So, so do you see it the same way? If they beat Jackson State, they can go ahead and start booking the rooms for the Celebration Bowl?
If they beat Jackson State, go in and start booking your rooms for December 7th for the SWAC Championship, and go in and book your room for what it is this year, December 14th for the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. If they beat Jackson, will they beat Jackson? I don't know. I've been thinking about it this week. I've been thinking about it. This might be the hardest game to pick for me. Like I said, preseason, I said Jackson was going to win, but I might not know who's going to win that game, or might not have my prediction ready for who's going to win that game until it's really time for me to pick. Because it can go both ways, man. On top of that, it's a road game. It's a road game. So at Jackson State, they've been rolling. I saw they lost. I saw they lost to Grambling a few weeks ago. So I was like, kind of seeing that a little bit. But man, this right here. FAMU can book their ticket to the SWAC championship and more than likely the Celebration Bowl if they win this, man.
I think that is the championship game between Florida A&M and Jackson State.
Yeah.
Alabama A&M is struggling offensively, not because of course, it's because they don't have a trigger man. So I look forward to that game. That's gonna be a real big game, Coach Campbell. I know you're gonna be there.
Listen, we are going to be there. And Gerald, I wanted to ask you this question. FAMU, you've seen them over the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And you saw, I would like to say, continuity in the first 2 years you were there, right? You saw some of the same play. How big is just your observation with all the transfers that FAMU brought in from the portal that you don't see what you've seen the last 2 years? What have you seen? Because you're seeing these guys practice every day. Is it just, to your point, like you said, scheme and things like that? Or maybe that, and again, because you are a sports writer, and right here, you report the truth. Do you see some of the things that, well, maybe they thought this guy was going to be, and you don't have to name names, of course, but just kind of just an observation where, this guy's not playing up to maybe what the coaches thought and things like that? Or is it just, to your point, is just really more, I see the talent, but it's more of a scheme thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, I ain't gonna say no names, but
no, absolutely.
It's been guys who I might have thought was going to play more that haven't, and guys that I may have thought wasn't going to play that are. And that's just the way the ball rolls. I mean, it goes off a system. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't fit the system, just because you're a good player don't mean that you're going to fit the system that you're in. So, but I mean, portal-wise, FAMU is always very active. They got Daniel Richardson. I asked Daniel Richardson last week. I said, so, you were one of Willie Simmons' last recruits ever at FAMU. And I said, why did you stay at FAMU when it came down to everybody, saying they're not staying anymore, everybody transferring out? And he just said, he talked to a few of the guys. He said they had good things to say about Cozy, and he was like, I'm staying here. That's what I'm about to spend my last season at. And even more so, guys like Ace Cobb, who caught 2 touchdowns. He's a guy. Him and Dan Richards shared the same roster at Florida Atlantic. So those guys kind of came to FAMU together. So it's been a lot of guys, portal-wise, but those guys who've been on the team in the past have really been the guys that's been getting them there. The guys like Kendall Bowler. I say Kendall Bowler, he basically cuts the field in half. Nobody ever throws it his way. Like I know he get bored on the field all the time. Like he gets no targets. Deco Wilson, who caught the interception, he was a guy that was a preseason all SWAC selection, preseason All-American alongside Bowler. And another guy that's really stood out to me is Nayron Jenkins, number 45. Me and Nayron, we have a special connection because he's a journalism student. So,
okay.
So yeah, so I mean, he's been playing good, man. That's really been a guy that's really been waiting his turn and didn't play much his first 2 years. So and now he's the leading tackler. So FAMU, they got a good mix of portal and guys that are back, because the portal always doesn't, pan out. I mean, we see what's going on across the tracks. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think they got a good mix. Of course, when you have a new coach, you're going to have a new looking team. Just that's the age of college sports that we're in. And especially with NIL, you're gonna have guys transferring in and out for NIL. So that is nothing surprising. But I think they're doing well with having, a guy that been here for the championship and a guy that's here trying to win a championship. I still remember a quote that Kelvin Dean told me during the offseason. He said, "Last year team got a championship. We ain't got no championship this year." So I think that's the way that they going this season.
Because let me say this: either our conference, and I hate to say this, Coach Bishop, we talked about me as being a coach. Either our conference is not as good, because when I look at the numbers, and we talk about Florida A&M, and I've seen winning programs. You know what I mean? They come in games and they get after it. When you look at offensively, Florida A&M is just average. You know what I mean? Would you say that? They're not scoring at 30 points. Where they at? About 20 some points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen teams play to their level. A team that, you hear that team that if they play a good team, they play up. They play a bad team, they play down to the team. I just see that Florida A&M is, got a good coaching staff. I can't say enough about that. Make great adjustments at halftime. I just don't see them. They are, because winning is at the end of the day. But if I was a betting man, I just wouldn't put all my money. It's like they scrapping every week. And we talk about all these transfers, all these great players. Maybe it's just taking them a little longer to start coming together as a team. What you think about that compared to when you see last year's team and this year's team?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the main difference is, like I said, you got a new quarterback. I mean, when Jeremy Musa came in 2022, he was a new quarterback.
Don't say him, Coach. I didn't like him. No, just go ahead. I'm just kidding with you.
Yeah.
I didn't really. He was okay. He threw the ball well, but I just did. I think he had a lot of great guys around him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what don't happen. They lost a lot of starters and they played a lot of new players this year.
Yeah, when he came in, he had guys that were returning from the past year. So I mean, whatever his flaws were, they could be kind of covered in that. Those guys that are in the receiver room and even on the line and in the backfield, those guys can kind of guide him the right way. Dan Richardson's coming into a whole different situation.
I'm sorry. How many guys y'all lost on offense from last year's group?
Starters wise, Marcus Riley, Kamari Young, Musa, Terrell Jennings. That's where I'm at, like 4 now.
Cherie.
Yeah, K-Dot, that's 5.
The offensive lineman from LSU.
Yeah, Cardell, that's 6. So over half of the offense is gone.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, so I think they're still trying to find that cohesiveness. They just got to start faster. And one thing that was very alarming with me is like, I know they played FBS teams, for a period of time, but I was like, man, we're in the whole month of September with no touchdowns now. You know what I mean? And also another thing is red zone. Goodness gracious, man! What's going on? But they did score a red zone touchdown against Alabama State, so maybe they turn in that corner. But I think it's so many new faces, man. There's so many new faces that if they were just a bad offense, then that's different. But those you kind of see the flashes. And I mean, in the last couple of years, FAMU hasn't been on the top of the SWAC rushing wise. The last time FAMU had a very dynamic rushing attack was when Bishop Bonnet was there, and that was before I even got here. 2022, I think they were last in the SWAC. Last year they were 7. The SWAC, the rushing game started to pick up a little bit when Terrell Jennings won the Florida Classic MVP and the SWAC Championship MVP. But running the ball really, it really hasn't been nice to FAMU, and I kind of think they realize that passing that's what they want to do and get a little bit of rushing in, maybe have a good running game every now and then. So I just think as this season goes on, and maybe that's something that they're working on now. I plan on going to practice tomorrow, and seeing how they're trying to build that cohesion, because they got a big clash coming up this week, man. And even regardless of that big clash that they got coming up, they still want to make sure they continue to win so they can hold on to that SWAC spot if they were to get it.
Well,
Coach, let me ask one more question. Can I get it? Or you?
No, go ahead, Coach.
You've been in this conference for 3 years, right? And this is your 3rd year. What is your take? How long you been in the SWAC?
This is my 3rd season.
Okay, how long you been a beat writer?
This is my 3rd season too. I mean, I did it on high school level, but
still, I'm asking. And you travel with the team, you've seen all the SWAC teams for the last 3 years. Where do you, and I know, Rocky, this is good for what we was going to talk about too, where do you see the overall conference? And then seeing Jackson State run the table. Now Florida A&M is running the table. Something's wrong with that picture. It never has been just one school dominant.
All right.
What's your take on that overall of our conference? And also, of course, you've seen other schools as well, because Florida A&M play other schools.
Yeah, as far as the SWAC, this right here, out of my years, I'm only speaking for my year, this is the most parity I've seen in the SWAC. I mean, because you think about the Jackson State Dion years. I mean, I always say Dion was bringing 5-star recruits to Jackson State at an all-star team over there. And then FAMU just had more talent than everybody last year. And the past 2 years, the years before last year, it was FAMU and Jackson always atop the SWAC when FAMU first got in the SWAC. So this year is a lot of parity. Even when the SWAC preseason rankings came out, and Alabama State got voted number 1, I didn't agree with it. You know what I mean? But I say that just goes to show they really don't know who's going to win this thing. They really don't know who's going to win this thing. And I think that's a good thing. It shouldn't just be one team just running everything. I mean, it's okay to have. I feel like now I do feel like the SWAC. It's a very low margin for error. It's a very low margin. You can lose one game like FAMU did in 21 and 22, and be out of luck.
Well, let's not overstate parity, because I think that's what you guys are doing right now. Meaning that there are only 2 teams in this conference, in my opinion, that are capable of going to the Celebration Bowl. They happen to both be in the West.
East.
In the East. With a team, for a team out the West to compete for the SWAC championship, it would be one of the biggest upsets in FCS history.
Stop that, boy.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If you play again, I know Grambling beat Jackson State, and I acknowledge that with the assistance of 5 turnovers and playing in a hole. If they play that game on a neutral site or in Jackson, there's no way that game turns out that way, in my opinion. But you don't get. I think it's by far. And I'll just wrap up and say this.
That's Grambling calling you.
No, that's Jackson State. It's definitely Jackson, Mississippi calling. But but I'll just say this, Gerald. Do you agree that parity is being overstated by you guys by acknowledging that at the very top, there's probably there's some parity, but throughout the whole conference, there's not much parity. I mean, what I'm saying is, it's not much parity when it comes to those guys competing at the top.
Yeah, I would say I agree with you on that front, because I mean, at the top, I'm gonna be real. I mean, when Deion Sanders was bringing them teams to Jackson, it's Jackson versus everybody else. It's Jackson, FAMU gonna be second, and then it's everybody else. This year with those top spots, you don't know who's gonna bring it. You don't know who's gonna bring that SWAC championship home. Now, I was thinking about saying this earlier, and I didn't say it, but I think it's time for the SWAC to get rid of divisions. I mean, I'm gonna be real. No disrespect to Prairie View, but Prairie View came to brag and got mollywalked twice. The second time they got 35 points put on them in the pouring down rain. You know what I mean? The first time they came to homecoming and didn't even put up a fight, it was 45-7. So I think it might be time for the SWAC to think. I don't know if maybe they want to keep the divisions, maybe reorganize them or try to put good teams.
Well, okay. So I think there's two issues there, right? I think there's a competitive issue. I agree.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna keep divisions, you have to have a neutral site championship. I just think that's the only fair thing to do, right? But however, if you do away with the divisions, I'm with you. I'm with you. That would make for a more compelling story in the SWAC, because you don't have a 3-loss team playing a undefeated FAMU team in a championship game at that place. You get a rematch of Jackson State or Alabama State against FAMU in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, because so many of them SWAC West teams are losing so much. We last year we over here trying to do math problems, trying to see who's gonna come out the division. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
All right, coach. All right, coach.
Yeah, you gotta. I don't know, man. Something got to be revisited to kind of see what how the SWAC should move forward.
Hey, Gerald, do you mind hanging on while we take this caller?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, caller, we got a call. You're live, 5307. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, this is James Bush calling from Jackson, Mississippi.
All right, James, speak up a little bit, James.
All right. Nice to meet y'all. But like I say, a lot of people are already, starting the trash talk, as far as from the game Saturday. But what people got to understand is that styles make fights. So you can't really get caught up in looking at. You got to look at the game in 3 phases. It's a game within a game. Fandom is going to automatically say, well, fam, you're going to beat them because we got them last year. I can say, we got 2-1, the 2-1 edge. I'm looking at just a game. Offense, defense, special teams. We second, even though we had a bad game Saturday, we second in the league as far as scoring defense. And then also what you got to go back off of that too is Connell Maynard, he is the most seasoned coach in the SWAC. So he got a lot of more experience playing and calling in games. And what he did was, I'm sure his game plan was to run the football, shorten the game. Well, because we came out on fire, that went away. So he started calling the game aggressive. So he started throwing. I'm sure our team was looking to kind of stop the run, even though they did do some good things in the run. You got to be able to say, even though Alabama A&M want to say, well, we kept scoring, every time they scored, we answered right back and scored. So it's like they still couldn't stop us. We still had a little cushion. And he himself said that, their game plan went out the way. That man was coaching for his job, And so I feel like if styles make fights, offense, defense, special teams, I give us the edge. So see what the offense doing. See what our defense doing.
So let me ask you this here, James, and I'll let Gerald and Coach Campbell have you after this. If Xavier Langford was able to do that, what do you think Daniel Richardson gonna do with his core wide receiver?
Well, now I will say this. I actually do respect the guy Richardson, and I know myself. I say if we don't get no pressure on him, we'll be in trouble. I still like if we go in the net. I will say Xavier Langford. I don't know if this dude Richardson can really run most so. Xavier Langford was doing a lot with his legs, and then when he did have time, he would find some open things. But I still give us the edge. I say both of these teams, honestly, at the end of the day, they kind of mirror each other to where it's like, now you just got to get the edge as far as coaching-wise. And so, now this TC's second year, this James Cody's first year. This is not his first year as far as, like, being in the conference, but it's his first year as far as, you know, being the head coach. I feel like TC and the team, just as a whole, he going to have to come up with some things. He probably going to have to coach a little bit harder. I think South Carolina State played them good, too. You know, if you say that, okay, so they struggle with stopping the run against Norfolk State and South Carolina State. And we can rotate backs in there. I mean, I'm just being honest. We can rotate backs in there. And Alabama State got theirs on them, too. So it's just like, you know, it's so you looking at us, I look at us as far as us with running the ball, I look at them with passing the ball. Some gonna have to give. Some gonna have to give. Some will give.
Hey, James, I appreciate you calling in, and you can listen to the comments of Gerald and Coach Cole. Coach Campbell online. Go ahead, Gerald. What was your response to the gentleman's comments?
Yeah, like I said, Jackson State is going to be a very tough challenge for FAMU. I mean, they're going to be a tough challenge. I don't see this game being no blowout either way from each side. But you know, like I said, Jackson State has one of like maybe 16th defense in the nation, and they have the 16th best offense in the nation, and I think like somewhere in that top 10 of the nation too in the FCS wise. So it is no, it isn't. I think both teams are going to pose problems for each other. I mean, you saw FAMU turned the ball over 4 times against the 5th or 6th best defense in the FCS and still beat them by 2 scores. So you know, but also that team also didn't have a dynamic offense too. So it's so many things that you can play devil's advocate with. But no, I'm just ready to see the matchup. You know what I mean? I was just playing this week to kind of see, but I guess it adds to the suspense that both teams are on bye weeks this week.
Hey, Gerald, before we let you go, I just want to pose this question to you, because I know you covered the team coming into this game. In your opinion, what is causing FAMU? Now, in previous years, I just think Willie didn't have any interest in running the football. His name was Shotgun Willie for a reason. You know what I mean? So I don't think he had any interest in running the ball. Cozy, on the other hand, he spoke openly during the spring and in the fall about establishing the run and being almost like he spoke about becoming a run dominant team. What do you think, in your opinion, because you very really close to the team, what are you attributing their struggles running the football to at this point?
Man, FAMU hasn't had a top rushing team in so many years. At this point, I don't even know. You know, I'm just be real. I don't know what the issues are. I mean, they have good running backs. Like one of their running backs from last year is in the NFL now. You know what I mean? Like one of their running backs that's on the team now got voted all SWAC second team preseason. But man, I really just don't know no more. I don't know what the issue is when it comes to running the ball. I just don't know. I don't know if it's because they do it by committee and people can't get their rhythm or what, man. But you know, but when you got a quarterback like Daniel Richardson, I'm passing the ball. If I got him at quarterback, just seeing what he's done, he's a smart quarterback. He knows when to throw the ball away. He doesn't throw many interceptions. I know he had a couple over the weekend, but he doesn't. That was uncharacteristic for him. So if I got him, I'm riding that to the wheels fall off. You know, just airing it out, especially if it's working. And another thing about him is that he spreads the ball out so much, man. I think 9 different receivers got the ball over the weekend. So if I got an offense that can do that, if I got an offense that can throw, that can have 4 turnovers and still beat teams by 2 scores, and passing the ball working and in the offense in the rushing game ain't, then man, I'm gonna have to turn to a shotgun Willie team. You know, if that's what it calls for.
Coach Campbell, you got anything before you let
yeah,
it go?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna, because I know I'm gonna hold. First of all, I want to say to James Bush, hey, outstanding phone call. I love the analysis. I'm gonna say this just because I'm not gonna talk too much. I'm gonna hold till next week, but I will say this. This is, as they say, styles makes fight. I've heard that, saw that in the chat. Our strength is JSU's weakness. Their strength is our weakness. We can't stop the run. We haven't been consistent stop the run. They're a running team. We're a throwing team. They have trouble stopping and throwing teams. So the thing about it is again, I told everybody from the get-go, I saw Alabama State, and I still say whoever would play quarterback. I just think that FAMU knows how to win games. I think that means something. I think Jackson State had built a team to win games. And I told everybody when this started off, it was going to be 10, 19, 24. I put that in every chat, every show I've been on, and everything like that. So we're here. So all I'm going to say is what I'm looking for, and I'm super excited. And I'm going to say this as a pick. Let's talk about the football game. Because first of all, this game is going to be on ESPNU. That's a big deal. That means ESPN knows this is a big game. So you're talking about in the vet, during the day, FAMU that is ranked, I think, number 19 in the nation. Number 19 coming into the vet. Jackson State got some things to prove. They got a chip on their shoulder. So I think this all plays out to be a great football game and everything. Now, with that being said, Gerald, before we let you go, tell everybody where they can find you on your socials, how they can read your articles. And, man, I'm just going to say this as an older brother, man, I'm very proud of what you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you grow in your career.
Appreciate you. First off, I appreciate y'all for having me on this show. Glad we was able to get this handled, and we survived Montgomery. We got out of the homecoming festivities unscathed. It was a very good experience. Just being out there. That was my first time even going to Montgomery as a whole. So I appreciate running into you. I know we got a little rowdy up there in that press box during the game. But
yeah, right. There's a couple people had a little bit too much to drink up there, boy. Me and Gerald was looking around, looking for the exits.
Hey,
this is a press box.
Yeah.
hey, and tell me, how was the hospitality over at in Montgomery? Was the hospitality pretty
outstanding?
Good?
Outstanding.
They hooked the press box up.
Man, listen, the wings was flowing, the Cokes was drunk, the chips. Man, hey, listen, man, I didn't have to spend no money, man. And me and Gerald had the best seat in the house.
Yeah, man. I had me a good 12-piece wings off of them. If you count all the plates I had. So yeah, man, it was great. I had my Tallahassee Democrat shirt on, so sometimes people see that and say, oh, he is, he the enemy. But nah, it was great, man. I had no bad things to say
talk for me,
about Alabama State. As far as where you can find my stuff, Tallahassee Democrat. The website is Tallahassee.com. Or you can go straight to the FAMU page. It's rattlernews.com. And then, of course, you can find me on Twitter. I post all my work on there at 3PG. The number 3, the letter P, the letter E, the letter A, the letter T, the letter G, the letter E, the letter E. And I learned how to spell it all together without messing up now. So, send me a message, send me an email. My email is at the bottom of all my stories. I get some. Sometimes I get hate mail. Sometimes I get, appreciate your mail. But I appreciate all of the mail that I do get. Because you read my stuff and you appreciate it. So yeah, man, it was great being on this show. We gotta do it again.
Absolutely, yeah, man. Listen, I'm gonna say this. Depending on how the game go, we might have to have you back the weekend.
yeah, definitely. And I guess whoever the loser, I guess I gotta bring some, bring a pint or something like that for y'all to bring a shot or something.
Man, listen.
It's going to be a tough one.
Woo! There you go. Gerald, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, man. Good luck on your career.
Oh, man, that was a great interview with Gerald. Seems like a great guy. It's always good to get all aspects of HBCU experience. We've had B writers, we had ADs. And now, and of course, we've had
promoters,
a period of coaches, promoters. Man, this is great, and so I want to thank you for being able to spot talent, Coach Campbell, and knowing that Gerald will come on here and do an amazing job and add value to our show. I want to thank you for bringing them on. Hey,
Hey
guys.
man, this is HBCU Coaches Corner. People come to see the news. So we
Right.
break news and make news over here, man.
I want to see that on this. Let me kind of transition. Last night, Scotty did a live with Reggie Flood, BJ, and what's the other gentleman's name? I can't think his name. Oh, Zoe. And they did a state of the SWAC, kind of a state of the SWAC. And they brought something out I want to share with you guys and just get your reactions before we go into the recap and the here. And this is just an excerpt from it. I hope you guys are able to hear it. And let me go to it now.
CAA opponents.
Hold on, let me start it over.
All these are FCS.
Okay.
All these. Shout out to my boy Blue. I
I'm going to let it play
Blue,
again because it's a quick clip.
SWAC versus out of conference opponents in the last 4 years.
How many of those were Division I opponents or even NCAA opponents?
All these are FCS.
Okay.
All these. Shout out to my boy Blue. I text Blue. I said, Blue, give me this. SWAC versus out of conference opponents in the last.
So you saw those numbers, and I can bring them up again, and just let y'all just go over. What these are FCS opponents, out of conference opponents for the SWAC. At first glance, what do those records say about the SWAC? Coach Cole, I'll let you go first.
We don't beat PWIs. Point blank. It's we hadn't done well with them, and then you probably could bring it down further than that and actually see what schools, like last year, what was it, 4 wins? What schools got those wins? I'm pretty sure North Carolina Central be in that mix. Prairie View maybe have 1 or 2, maybe. And it depends on what teams actually play those schools. So no, that doesn't shock me at all. But it's a lot of reasons why though. But I guess we'll talk about them later.
Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Well, this is what's the most disappointing thing that I've always said. You look at schools, and I always like to keep things in perspective, apples to apples, not apples to oranges. We're not talking about, because we're not playing the South Dakota States, we're not playing the North Dakota States or the high-end FCS teams, because I've always known they have an unfair advantage, money-wise, a whole bunch of things. But when we come to schools that I believe that is on our level, and we don't compete. You look at Southern losing Nichols. You look at other teams and things like that. That's what's disappointing. And the thing about it is it a talent thing? Is it a coaching thing? What has hurt me, and this goes back to way back, and Coach Cole's going to understand this. There was a time, and again, this is history. You understand some, now we're talking about 10, 19, 24. The 2 best teams in this division was Jackson State and FAMU, and they put them on the same side because they didn't want to have 2 black schools playing for the championship in 1978. So that lets you know we've had talent. I have seen Jackson State University have first-round picks, second-round picks, third-round picks, and will lose to a Georgia Southern team that had no round picks, lose to a Boise State that had no round picks, lose to a Louisiana Tech that had no NFL players. And it would baffle us with all the talent Jackson State would have going to the playoffs, with all this, and they would lose these games. Not blown out, but still lose these games. FAMU, during a time when they were making their runs, was really the only one that could go beat PWIs because they were winning the playoffs. So that FAMU's the only HBCU that has beaten a PWI in the playoffs out of all the teams that have gone for 30 plus years. So again, and I had this conversation with Scotty. The question is, to me, is this: when you've got a school, a PWI, what are they doing to develop their players better, have them more disciplined, where they can run their style of offense compared to what we're doing? And this is something that has just baffled me because we have these coaches on here. I know they care. I know they're working hard. I know they're trying to identify talent. But there is something lacking when we're playing these PWI teams because it's not an intimidation factor. I know our players are not intimidated. But there is something where, again, that their execution has always been better. and that we just don't execute. So that's just something, man. I've seen this for over 40 years now, where I've seen this question being asked because we've had the better teams and we've even lost.
I ask you, Coach, I don't have enough history watching the SWAC to really put this in context, right? Because my perception is, since I've been an adult, this is my perception, that HBCU schools never compete against PWIs.
Yeah.
Now, not let alone really good PWI schools, because I think Tennessee State got beat 50-something to nothing, either last year or early in this season. I can't remember when it was, but my point is saying is, Coach, at the same token, there's no real reason why I can justify, because you can take that same black college team, play against a black school who's had some success against the PWI, and they'll fight them tooth and nail. You hear me? It'll be. I'll give you an example. Jackson State beat Campbell the same year Campbell drugged NCCU, right? But yet NCCU was able to beat Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl. How do you explain that? NCCU, I want to see they got beat 45-14 by Campbell. The next game, I think Campbell comes to Jackson State and gets beat. And when they play in the Celebration Bowl, NCCU, it's nip and tuck and goes in overtime.
Well, that's Jackson State. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna let Coach go, but let's be honest. Jackson State. Let's say this. Deion Sanders was not focused on that game. He was in Colorado with his starting quarterback. Okay, let's be honest. With that, Trey Oliver and them were focused to win that game. Deion Sanders was already talking about Gucci luggage in Colorado, so I think that had a lot to do with that. Because that. So I'm sorry. Trey Oliver's a great coach, but
you can point out. You can point out things like that, because there's no way to maybe Jackson State is the outlier, and I shouldn't have used that team as an example, but it just seems like teams play well, play competitive, and then when they go up against a PWI, they forget how to play football almost.
Well, Rocky, I tell you what, let me. I'm going to raise my hand, and Coach going to understand this, because we actually played in the playoffs that first year. Jackson State 7-6 game. We played great football against everybody. Went down to South Louisiana, and now this is Willie Simmons, and I'll never forget. You could see the coaching preparedness, because they saw something on special teams, and they explored. As people remember that game, it was a fake punt, and that totally changed the whole game. And then you just saw that, unfortunately, we got out-coached that game. And this is Willie Simmons, who was a great coach. So I won't talk about anybody else. I'll talk about my team. And this is respect to FAMU, but I saw it right there. It was concerning, because we had talent. Now, we wasn't a talented quarterback. They had Cole Kelly, who was a better quarterback. But that team, we had Marquise Bell on that team, Isaiah Land on that team. We had several guys that were NFL caliber players on that team, on the defensive side. So to me, even though they had a big offensive line, I think we should have played better in that game. So I think that's to your point, and I just want to use that example. I'm sorry, Coach, I didn't mean to cut you off by anything.
Well, I've been in the game. I've coached the game. I played it. Texas Southern, we got beat at by the white school. We played the Southland Conference, Lamar, Southeast Louisiana, Nickel State, McNeese. They all beat the hell out of us. But like you said earlier, Coach Campbell, we would have 5, 6, 7 guys get NFL contracts. And at that time, as a player, I was just really, really learning the game. But as I matriculated through my coaching, my coaching experience, that's what it is. It's coaching. It's the program. These teams beat you by the program. What I mean by that, at these PWI schools, everybody is involved. Everybody understands that football is important. From the AD on down to the janitor, and to the alumni that comes out and support them. So programs beat us as well. And at the end of the day, it's coaching. The thing with African American football players, coach, guys, is discipline. If you don't have discipline in your program and you're putting your best players and letting them do what they want to do, and everybody ain't on the same page, you're not going to beat those schools. Because when you got 11 players supposed to be going one way, and on every play, 2 or 3 of them going another way, and they happen to be some of your top players, you're not going to win. You're not going to be successful. So,
Coach,
go ahead.
no, I want to ask you a question on that. And I understand, but they have black players too.
Yes.
These teams, so it's not like, was that Friday Night Lights or something, you know what I mean, or one of them shows. They have black players, good black players, black quarterback. I mean, and I'll go back, Coach, you remember this thing. Tracy Ham at Georgia Southern would dominate FAMU and Texas State in the playoffs.
Yes.
He was, so my point, and I could go on and on. They have, I mean, so what is that there? Because again, this might be a difficult discussion, as they say, having an open door discussion like this. But they have black players.
Right.
So,
but at a white school. So when a black kid goes to a white school, he's on his best. You know what I mean? Not necessarily when a kid comes to a black school, everything is loose, basically. And I have to be honest. How much do we think? And that's where the coaching comes in. It's different when you coaching 100 African American kids as opposed to 20 or 15. They know the culture. At black schools, it's just a difference. It's a different culture. You come into a tour of locker room, the dormitories tour, the bus breaks down. You got one coach sleeping in his room. You got another coach, doing something else. Then, for instance, here's an example. Clark Atlanta. All right. When they first started out the season, the administration already took over $100,000 from the coaching staff. All right. So they got four coaches. All right. And the rest of the coaches are $5,000 or less, coach, right? So you pay for what you get. You see right there? So now I got an offense, a defense, and head coach, and one other coach. All right. But once Clark started winning, all right, they start finding money. You know what I mean? It ain't like it's in the program. This last week, coach, they stayed in the hotel on Friday night. They didn't do that the first 4 games. They went and got new buses. They didn't do that the first 4 games. I was at Southern University, coach, and under P. Richardson the first year. All right. They were talking about money. We don't have no money. Man, we got 3-0. We got some rags. We went 4-0. They got us a hat. We went 5-0, 6-0. Every week, coach, it was something that we would get. Well, where's that money at? Why? We could have used that money to pay some coaches, so you could get some good coaches on the coaching staff. I'm sorry to say, and I know I'm sitting up here as a coach, as an African American, as a black coach. At the end of the day, guys, that's what it is. You can't run from it. I seen it. I would see us play, coach, and we had 5 guys go to the NFL, but half of them wasn't going to school, half smoking weed all night, half ain't doing what they supposed to do, and the coaches, it's the program.
So
not only just coaching, it's the whole program.
Coach Cole, I want to ask you a question, because me and you, this is probably one of the first conversations when you first met that opened my eyes about who you really were as a coach, right? Because I was mentioning, I just said cavalierly, coach, the only thing about PWIs, coach, and I'm talking to you not knowing who you are, is they don't beat, only thing about HBCUs, they don't beat PWIs. And you says, me and my brother did. And I say, huh? I say, well, and then you go to explain that in the OVC, you and your brother won back-to-back titles at an HBCU.
Average 45 points a game.
And then you got a chance to really peel back the onion where you can't do it right here in this conversation. But you mentioned there were several transformations to your brother's program that needed to be made so that you could compete against those PWIs. Could you talk about a couple of those things that you had to adjust in your program so that you could compete with PWIs?
First and foremost, you got to come in with a program and a standard. This is the standard everybody gonna meet. You don't miss weights. You miss weights, you don't play. You go to class and you be in class. You don't miss class. You don't go when you want to. Right? When you come to the office, now I gotta get the trainer straightened out. You know, when you gonna take, when you're not gonna take. And if his ass don't do what I ask, I'm gonna get him out of there. You go get the best strength coach that you could get. And you go to and visit these other schools of what are you doing here at Michigan or whoever. And that was the great thing about my brother and myself. We had intended coach that we could go out and get those answers of what are y'all doing? What's the update thing on lifting? When I was in school, when I was coaching at Texas Southern, all we'll do bench press, we'll do some curls, and it ain't Coach Campbell, it ain't a play in football that you use your hands this way. You know what I'm saying? So instead of working on curls and bench press all day, we worked on Olympic, working on your core. You know what I mean? Working on your explosion lifts. So that's just a couple things in the weight room. So you got to get your weight room right. And you got to tell your weight coach, look, you the head coach of this weight room. Don't come to me 2 weeks later telling me my starting wide receiver ain't been there. Then I'm firing your ass. You got to get with the janitor in the maintenance department. Look, every night we need this locker room cleaned up. You got to start talking to the maintenance department about putting fans in the locker room so the equipment can dry. Then you got to get your equipment man straight that we wash clothes every day. So if we need a washer fix, let's do all that. I ain't talking about playing yet. Now, let me talk to the secretary. Get my starting quarterback off the counter. Get my fullback out of here. Kids don't sit around here. They come in and go to the locker room, get their clothes on, and get outside. This ain't a retreat, for the kids. No equipment, man. You give the when I was at Texas Southern, I was 150 pounds. Rocky. The equipment man, for some reason, didn't like me. Still don't like me today, and I don't like his ass. But give me, Campbell, some extra large football pants. So I'm sitting out there with extra large football pants. We had bloody shoes. I was sweet in high school. I'd be damn if I come to college. So I used to have to tape my pants up until my brother LC would send me stuff from the University of Nebraska. Then I turned out they were wondering where I was getting my stuff from. So they got mad at me. I had the up-to-date shoes. I had the up-to-date pants. They got me some smalls from Nebraska. You know what I'm saying? And everybody wants their part of being the boss. No, it's the head coach. It's just so much that goes on in the program that you got to get a handle of. We go to Alabama State. Bless, they treated us great, right? They treated us great, right? But when we were there, everybody was on the field. Mamas, girlfriends, brothers. And the game was going on. 5 coaches, players from other years coming coaching your running backs while the game going on. It just can't happen, coach. And programs like Trey Oliver, he getting there. He beating them PWI. My man at South Carolina State, he's another good one. It's some good ones there. But man, it's so much dynamic to having a great team. Yes, the SWAC should be able to dominate. I had more problems beating the black schools when I was at Tennessee State. I guess I was turning white. Because when you play them, sometimes you don't see what you've seen down the line. Because sometimes black coaches are so creative, I can give them a hat on defense sometimes until I had to make adjustment to see he's doing some unsigned, and then I had to attack that part of them. You know, so the thing at Tennessee State, what the difference is, we played all the top black schools. We played Florida A&M. We played Jackson State. You know what I'm saying? We didn't play your Valleys and your Tech, and we played Texas.
Right.
We beat Texas Southern the year we won OVC. We didn't even practice. I promise you, we didn't even practice. We beat them. You know what I'm saying?
Coach, what years was this when you guys were winning? What years were you at? You guys were at Texas at Tennessee State.
90,
just so people.
96 and 99. We won two back championships. My brother, as a head coach, is the only African American coach that have won a PWI conference back to back 2 years in a row. He's probably the only black coach that has won, I don't know, 30-some PWI schools.
Coach, I want you to point out something, because this is something I always thought was very peculiar when you used to say this. And you say it every time without stuttering about your experience as a championship winning coach in the OVC. You say it just clear and concisely. I didn't have a problem with the PWIs. We had problems with the black schools. when you talking about winning. So what can you just kind of iron out? What was it a problem? Did the black schools play better when they played you guys, or what was the dynamic there where you guys were able to dominate your conference, but when you played Jackson State and FAMU and Alabama State and those schools, they gave you problems?
Well, of course, like I said, we played the best ones. You know, we played Florida A&M, Billy Joe. I thought Billy Joe was a great coach. And I think Billy Joe probably has some success being white PWI schools. We played North Carolina A&T, Bill Hayes. You know, we played the Southern, Pete Richardson, who now Pete struggled a little bit with white schools, but I remember us being Northwestern, but turned around and lost to Nickel State, but the games was always close. So you know, there was some great coaches. I just named three black coaches that's one of the best. You know, and I just don't think that it's fair to them because they just didn't play a lot. It wasn't just a lot of PWIs on their schedule. You know, those two. Because I know at Southern we played two. We played Northwestern and Nickel State. You know, I know North Carolina A&T might have played one or two, maybe. You know what I mean? At that time. So the thing of it is so many great athletes down in the SWAC. And you might see a guy, he's wrong, he's lined up wrong, Rocky, but he's so athletic that he covers two gaps. You know what I'm saying? So, and you didn't know what to expect from week to week, whether in a 50 front or 40 front, until we had to make adjustments at halftime.
Yeah, would it be fair to say, Coach, as we close out this particular conversation, would it be, and caller who called, can you call back and you'll be able to get on before we move on? But would it be fair to say that the SWAC was talent dependent? They depended on talent rather than scheme, or talent rather than coaching?
I just think that they always had talent during my years. You know, I gotta say during my years, I don't see the talent now as much as we had back then. Because I mean, you could see that back then we put more guys in the NFL and in the pros. And I don't know if our fans know that the SWAC is like in the top 5 in the Hall of Famers in the NFL. So yeah, we you know, now we don't have the athletes that we had back then. So I can say once again, I say it's the program. It's the overall program of like Rocky. I remember we played or I was a player after the game, they give us a box of chicken. 3 or 4 boxes of chicken, you get on the bus, you cramp it up, people laying all down, chicken bones everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do that. After the game, we're gonna go have a sit-down dinner. You know what I mean? We're gonna have a sit-down dinner. You know what I mean? We gonna have everybody gonna have a card with what we gonna do that day. You know what I mean? The kids, you had to give them guidance. It's almost taking a kid joining the military and taking him through the 8 weeks of training. This is what we gonna do. This is what we are here. This is the uniform we wear. These are the socks I wear. This is what we do. We don't do nothing outside of that. You want to do that, you need to go. I was able to do it in Lane College as well. You know, like I told you on picture day, we had 65 players and only 45 of them took the picture because the other 15 or 20 didn't want to cut their hair, didn't want to shave. You know what I mean? Thought they were bigger than our program, and that just wasn't happening. And I think that has a lot to do when we play PWIs that we do not coach it. And that's coaching the whole program. Everybody knows their responsibility from the janitor up to the head coach.
Hey, Rock, I want to just, before we one thing, because Coach just made me think about something, and I actually had this conversation. There's a lot of dynamics that come into play. So, like I said, Coach and I come from a different era. You two, Rock, we're all the same age, different era. These younger players, a lot of them, especially because of the suburbs and the better schools, they are coached by white coaches. I know this for a fact because I have classmates who are high school coaches all over the South. And you know what a lot of these coaches will tell you? Man, you don't want to go to HBCU. You don't want to go there. The facilities are not up to par. You go on down there to Tarleton State. Go on down there to Nichols. Go to all these there. Now, there's a perception. So if you're hearing this from a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, that it's lower. And there is that. Where do you think you're going to want to go? And then to Coach's point, if you prove, because like I say, we all know, and this is a struggle that we have, our facilities are not up to par. We've heard coaches say, hey, I couldn't even bring a guy here because I didn't want him to see the facilities. Or I walked him around to see the girls, but I didn't show him the weight room. So those are the things that we are fighting, that we have to, you know, like I said, I hear people talking about NIL. The alumni should be focused on upgrading our facilities, because that, if we do that, and when you see a kid, you know, Southern had high school day against back, they lost 51-7. That's not a great impression. But Southern's an amazing school. So my thing is, we've got to improve these facilities when we bring these players in. And then that's all the other stuff that comes with being an HBCU comes in. The girls, the class, the alumni network, and just being around your people. But if I walk in there as a high school kid, especially in 2024, hey man, being black don't mean nothing to me. They're not motivated like that. They want to play football. So they're going to come in and look at that. So that's just, you know, I'm just being honest. I've heard that from too many high school coaches that are black.
Right. Let me say that's been a myth since I've been in school. And some of it is not true. These black schools now, some of them do have facilities. You know, Prairie View, Graham got his own stadium. Now Jackson State, Alabama State got probably the best FCS facility in the country. But here's the thing though, Campbell. One of the things we always used to say was recruit ready. We want to keep our locker room and our offices recruit ready. A lot of it falls on us. You know, you don't want to bring a recruit there and somebody laying in the middle of the floor, trash all down the side. In a good facility, you don't want to be recruit ready. You want to be recruit ready when everybody come in and know the kid when he walks through the door. You want to be recruit ready when the kid comes, and even if we wasn't ready, we make sure we act like we ready. You know what I mean? You don't want to come in there and everybody got warm-up suits and elbows are ashy and hair not combed and you gotta have your facility. Go. I told you guys at Lane College. We didn't have no facility. We built it. We went in our locker room. We had a little high school locker. We went in there, went to Home Depot, and built lockers and painted them and laid the carpet and built a laundry rack, for it. That's why I said when you take over a head job, hopefully you already know what needs to be improved. And off-field stuff needs to be improved. Dormitories. If you got a raggedy dormitory, at least when the kid and his parents show up, that the dormitory is clean and ready for them to come in. You got the list. He get there. You know what I mean? Hey, this is John Doe. He's from Mississippi. Here's his mother. Here's his stuff. You know what I'm saying? You got to have buses running to the airport, picking them in, or kids sitting there for an hour and nobody knows he's there. That's the kind of shit that goes on at some of these, I'm just saying, at some of these black schools that they don't understand. This is very important. Even now, Coach, when I go to games, and I look at teams, how they warm up, how the assistant coaches go about their day. If I see all the assistant coaches talking in the huddle, one of them got this uniform on, one of them doing this, head coach ain't wrong. That's the team that I look at and say, this is not a real coach team. I can see it of how they handle stuff. Does everybody knows what they're doing when the kicker's out? Is the kicking coach out, or is he running out later? Are they praying over in this corner? They got a prayer on this corner. They got the Indian trying to get rain over in this corner. That's not a program. That's a lot of individual stuff that's going on that everybody is not on the same page. And it even happened in school that I teach. Everybody got to be on the same page, and everything starts from the top. And yeah, ain't no question. Like you say, we do need alumni help, money, support, and all that kind of stuff. But
real quick, Rocky, real quick, and I want to be. We're not talking indefinites. Jackson State, I'm going to say I've been to Jackson State. Great facilities. Alabama State saw that. Great facilities. Prairie View. But I'm going to say the rest of them can be upgraded.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was that So what I was saying was, and this is, I know, and don't tell me this is not true. There is these high school coaches, no matter if you go to Jackson State, who has great facilities, great representation of football players and stuff. I'm telling you what high school coaches tell those black players. You don't want to go there. I'm telling you what I know for a fact, because I have parents who are Jackson State alumni and say, you're not going to believe this, Steve. I want my son to go to Jackson State to coach, so you don't want to go there. So don't tell me what I'm talking. I know this to be true. So I want to be clear on that. We're not talking about everybody, but we're talking about things that we're fighting against.
Right. Oh, no, without a doubt. Without a doubt, Coach. I was just saying I'm still on why we don't beat PWIs on the
right. Well, I think that's what, again, that whole point. And again, and I don't know if Rocky's going to talk about it, because I know one of the things, the argument about the salaries. And Coach, Rocky, did you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we could talk about the salaries. In my opinion, the salaries are just one aspect of how we have our priorities sometimes don't align with our goals. You know what I mean? If the goal is truly be competitive, have a competitive football program, the program should be the priority, and then the coach. And in my opinion, program is facilities, budgets for assistant coaches, all those things that build a competent program. Just because you got the highest paid coach doesn't mean you're going to have the best program if those other very important aspects of having a good program aren't taken care of. So I'll let you guys touch on that even further.
See, the other thing at PWIs, and this is what Campbell was alluding to, is they do have alumni. They do have some type of Tiger Club or whatever. They do have those people that does the extras, making sure they're making meals, making one guy that's alumni own a car place, and he gives the coaches 2 or 3 cars, to go recruiting. It ain't, they got a house or 2 on campus that the some of the coaches stay in. So there's some other stuff on the outside that helps make the program go. My thing is more so is what the head coach and assistant coaches can control, and that's my thing. Yeah, our salaries are. I would say our head coaching salaries are out of line with not being able to have 6, 7, 8, 9 full-time coaches that you're paying them enough money that they could go out and have an apartment, a nice apartment they can live in, or even buy a house. Some of them don't even make as much as money as teachers, or not even close. Some of them are, and then they don't give you a whole staff. They don't even look at. Let's look at just the positions on the field. You need a quarterback coach. You need a receiver coach. You need an O-line coach. You need a tight end coach. You need a running back coach. So that's 5 coaches that need decent salaries. You need a secondary coach, a corner and a safety coach. That's 2 coaches. You need a D-line coach. You need an inside linebacker coach and an outside coach. You know what I mean? And yeah, so that's 10 guys right there. Let's just say, Coach, you want to pay them $75,000, $80,000, $800,000 right there, right, Coach?
Well, Coach,
to pay them decent money. Then
Coach,
now you come to head coach.
Coach, I came up with a structure of where you could have y'all can do the math with me. I said that you could have 6 coaches making $75,000 a year. That's 3 on offense, 3 on defense, right? Then you could have each coordinator making $100,000, right? Okay. I think that's not a reason. So 6 coaches making $450. Then you get coordinators for $100,000. Now you're at $650, and then you can pay your coach $200,000, right? 200.
Right.
Let's go 215. You still under $1 million in the coaching pool, Coach. And everybody that you hire, you got 10 professional coaches,
right.
And everybody's compensated accordingly. Why can't that be the standard at a HBCU, to have 10 well-compensated coaches on your coaching staff rather than have one highly paid coach and then the other coaches are piecemeal between third? Like Scotty showed on this show where I want to say it was Southern's coaching staff. Dooley was making $400,000, and the next coach on the list was making around $80,000, and then they had a quarterback coach on staff making $40,000. Coach, how is that? Where is the continuity in salary? You have to have something that's equitable amongst the coaches, in my opinion. And coach dropped off, but I'll just take it to you, Mr. Campbell.
Well, let me say something. Peasy, I think, is an Alcorn guy. Shout out to Peasy for being here. He said the market's already said unless you bring up coaches from D2. This is the thing what we're talking about. And I spoke about this last week. ADs looking for diamonds in the rough. ADs looking for the next great coach. Look at Teddy Keaton. What do you think he would be doing in the SWAC right now? Look at what Tennis Berry is doing. Sean Gibbs, even though he wasn't a fit for FAMU, he probably is a fit for a lot of these other teams. And when you went out to pay him $250,000, $280,000, $300,000. So it requires our ADs to understand the landscape of the next great coach. When you look at a lot of successful programs, you know what they do? They say, you know what, that guy, he might be a wide receiver coach, but I think he could be offensive coordinator. Let's move him over. Let him start work. And all of a sudden, he's the head coach. And sometimes you get a guy a year early than a year late. And that's the thing about it. So with the D2 guys, do you know how many outstanding D2 football? Look at Teddy Keaton right now. Look at what he's doing. Look at all the openings we had in HBCU land. Did Teddy Keaton get a job?
No.
Which we not consider him probably now. And again, if we put all the coaches in a bucket, top 5 coach right now.
Right now.
I would agree.
I'm gonna say my brother. My brother, his defensive coordinator.
Let me say this, Coach. I wanted to get this say, Coach, and this is just my opinion, Coach. This ain't got, and I'm a business guy, but this is what I do know. You can't build a professional pipeline of coaches paying guys peanuts to do a job that doesn't allow them to take care of their families. Because what's happening is a guy who is a good coach will transition out of coaching just so he can provide for his family. You understand what I'm saying? But if you provide a $70,000 salary as even if you call him a journeyman coach, you can call him whatever, but he's a position coach. He's a guy that can coach it at FAMU for 75, and he may can coach it at Jackson State for 75 or Southern for 75. My point of saying that is you keep a guy in coaching who's good because he's able to coach and provide for his family. If you pay a guy $40,000, $30,000, and a guy keeps coaching for that kind of money, I'm going to tell you this here, coach. If a guy is coaching for $40,000 on this level, coach, how good can he really be at coaching?
I'm not going to argue. You know, I can't argue that point. I know when I started in the business in the mid '80s, my first contract was $19,000. Then it went to $26,000. Then when I went to Southern University, it was $25,000. And then when at 25,000, I was a receiver coach. And then I left there and went to the University of Cincinnati at 40, and then left there and went to Tennessee State at 40, 45. Then Alabama State, I got a jump. I got a big bump. But everybody ain't a head coach, man. And if you just look at these guys, these successful head coaches, and you hear them talk, you know, I love Nick Saban. I hear him talk. You know, Belichick, you know, LC Cole, Pete Richardson. They got one thing about them, man. They no nonsense guys. You know what I mean? Everybody can't be a head coach. Some guys don't care about the things I just talked about. Well, what keeping the locker room clean? What is that? We just gotta play. We just gotta, you know, all that entails, man, and building a program. And I see these guys, man, like last week. What did they say about? And definitely, I hope our audience don't. I don't want to see nobody get let go, or this ain't. What did they say last week about Prairie View's head coach? What did he do? He told his staff. He started telling his staff, "What, man, y'all playing the wrong people." You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes that type of stuff you should know going in. You know what I mean? I don't think that can happen at a Nick Saban or a Belichick. What you think?
Well, Coach, that goes back to what I was saying, Coach. How many true professionals can you have on your staff when your staff is making $30,000, $40,000? Coach, you're gonna have to take inexperienced guys. You're gonna have to take guys who can't do no other job other than coach. Like Coach, I'm serious about this when I say this. I don't see how a serious man can take a salary that won't allow him to take care of his family. And if you're a serious coach, right, whether it's at high school, whether it's at college, whether it's in the pros, you have to be paid according that will allow you to have a certain level of dignity and to live at a certain standard. And if just to coach, you're asking me to live a substandard, live below the poverty line, so I can wear a sweatsuit and blow a whistle. That's unfair, Coach. That we should not have people coaching at our colleges, leading our young men making $30,000, $40,000 a year. That's preposterous to me.
Coach, this is where you being a businessman, you coach because you love the game and you love working with kids. So it happens all the time.
But it's not fair, Coach. They taking advantage of coaches.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coaching on the pro level, they just volunteer. The reason why Jackson State was so good, not only because Dion was getting class for athletes, he had several pro coaches that were working for free.
You think Coach locked up?
I think you're locked up. We're going to get a coach that strong Wi-Fi in Mama's house.
Yeah.
That extra bands. But no, but to his point, and Rocky, to your point, I think again these are honest conversations that need to be had, because see, you can't have again this high expectation to be a winning team, a championship program, and then when it comes, it costs to be the boss. That's the one thing I give FAMU people a lot of credit. And I'm not saying other schools. I went to FAMU, so I'm going to speak about FAMU. This is not me bragging on it. But when we thought Willie, we had the opportunity to keep him, the money was coming. Because we looked at the bottom line, and guess what? People like winning. FAMU people have been in the dark for almost 20 years. You got a coach that was winning 9 games, being competitive, then won a HBCU national championship. Hell, he was worth another $200,000. He brought in $2 million.
Hey, hold up, caller. You're gonna have to turn down your background noise if you're gonna speak with us.
Will do. I got you.
All right. I'm gonna let you get that straight, and I'll come back to you. Go ahead, Coach Camp.
I got it.
Yeah. So that's the thing about it, is that when you see this and you want to have these teams, we want our team. I want Jackson State to beat a ULM. I want FAMU to beat a Troy. Because these schools, and I'm going to use FAMU again. I talked about this with Gerald. We had all these FBS transfers. So the talent gap shouldn't have been that far away, right?
Yeah.
So again, we should be able to compete. Jackson State has outstanding play that they got through the transfer portal. They should be able to compete, and they did compete. We competed. So my thing is, again, Central is beating teams. A&T went on a run beating FBS teams. So that's a standard that we can't say, and this is recent. So we can't say, oh, we can't do it. We just saw it. And again, I call it this new era, this Celebration Bowl era. We have seen teams go do that. So again, it requires a commitment from the AD, who has to know, Coach, we talked about this, that has to understand the business of sports, not the business of business. It requires coaches to be dedicated, build their craft, and it requires the alumni to, again, I'm going to say this. We got schools that don't have a training table. If you, coach, tell me that if you got a hungry player, how focused he going to be?
They ain't going to be too focused.
Thank you.
About food.
Thank you. He's going to be thinking about food. So these are the things that we have to sit back, again, and I'm going to get on this crusade. It's homecoming season. I'm going to see people riding in big cars, big fancy money, name job, all these HBCU people, they right to your point. Hey, bro, they're not making $40,000. I don't have let me tell you, I don't have a classmate who got a part-time job making $40,000. Okay? So don't tell me that the money is not out there in our alumni to sit back and to make our programs, because you don't want to get embarrassed. I'll tell you how not to get embarrassed. Go to your coach, ask him, and you know what's so funny about, like what I asked Coach, the stuff that those coaches need, Coach, and you can tell the truth, it's not even $1 million what they need, Coach.
No.
It's not. You get 1,000 people, give you $100, 1,000 people give you $1,000, it's $1 million.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of money.
We got a call on the line, but I just want to say this, Coach. And this is something Reggie Flood said that kind of took me back. He said, to be honest with you, you have a lot of administrative people in HBCUs that if they could, they would just do away with football. That shocked me, because this is why it shocked me. These are black people that are at a black school that has the opportunity to use black children and showcase those black children in the same way that Alabama, Michigan, University of Florida do. And they see it as a hindrance, where if the president of Florida or Alabama even show any lack of support for the football team, they ass is grass. You know what I mean? So how can that attitude exist in HBCU football, considering what those football programs mean to those universities and what our kids mean to those universities? Like how can they consider football a second tier priority when the University of Florida, University of Alabama, University of Michigan, University of Miami have used those football programs to raise the profile of their university. I'll let y'all go ahead.
One thing I want to add too, once again, we talk about, I'm talking from a head coach's perspective. You got to be a businessman as well, meaning you got to take the money that they give you or that you have, and you got to be able to chop it up and be able to find ways for a training table. You got to find a way for, you got to find those things to make your program big time. You know what I mean? Just like at Lane College, again, I talk about Lane because I only had 7 scholarships. On Friday nights, where teams go to the movies, I would bring the movie to the gym and have popcorn and let them bring their girlfriends and everything, and cheerleaders come in and watch film, not film, but a movie. You know what I mean? And then, of course, after that, it's curfew. And we would check curfew. When we went on the road at Lane College, we would go to a movie on Friday night when we stayed in the hotel. It's just you got to have that mindset of, if you've been there and you know how it looks and how it feels, you don't have to have 5 helmets, different colors. You can have one and make it a different color by putting different stripes on it. Does that make sense? I don't allow myself.
Coach, let me say this. That's, in my opinion, that's the problem with HBCUs. The coaches and the people around that love those sports and love those kids have been too innovative, have shown too much ingenuity, have shown too much the ability of willing to do more with less. At the end of the day, that's put, in my opinion, that's obfuscated some of the responsibility as administration to properly fund these programs. Go ahead.
That makes perfectly sense. It does. So, we're really saying the same thing. I'm saying we still can beat these PWIs. I'm still on that. We still can beat these PWIs, but we just got to do it the right way. You know what I mean? We can't we can't sit back and say, oh, well, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this, we don't have that. You know what I'm saying? But you are correct. We shouldn't have to go through that. But at the end of the day, what they try to say is that these football programs, all of them, do not make enough money to sustain themselves. I think the old way we think about everything go to general fund, Coach Campbell, you might could add to this, that start putting some money away in a foundation, those money games. So you can start, your operation budget, the big operation budget, you can start weaning your football program to, being on its own. You know what I'm saying? So there's ways I think you can do it, but we still stuck in the old days on how we fund. Everything goes general fund. None of it goes to athletic fund.
Yeah, Coach, that is just, and this again, and I know we got to move on, but this is where it goes to the point where, and schools have to survive, right? So what do? You get a pot of money that comes in. A school is a business. It's got to pay lights. It's got to pay water. And when you're getting underfunded by all these racist state legislatures, by some schools, billions of dollars, not millions, billions, FAMU $2 billion, North Carolina AD $2 billion, Texas Southern $1 billion, Alcorn $500 million, Southern $1 billion. If you gave me that money, guess what? We wouldn't have no problems. So the problem is when the money comes in, then you have to make a choice. It's kind of like with us. Our foundation part that we donate, my class, goes to academics, because we know kids in Florida, kids sometimes can't afford tuition. So we had to make a hard choice. Do we, the $100,000 plus we're raising, does it go to the athletics or does it go to a kid to graduate? That's a hard choice. But we had to make a moral choice. We wanted that kid to be able to graduate and to get a job. You know what? Now, FAMU was good with money. That $100,000 could just go to the football team. And that's every freshman class at FAMU. 30 freshman classes have raised $100,000. Now you do the math on that. But we got to pick and choose these things, and it really hurts.
Well, like you say, everything starts from the top, with some of our Republican board of region guys on the top, as well as being in these Republican states, like you say, and I'm not giving us what we deserve. But hey, is the guy still on the line, Coach?
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, let's get him on the line. Yeah, let's try to move on.
Hey, caller 3363, you're live on HBCU Coach's Corner. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on, y'all? This is JB calling from Houston, Texas.
All right, JB, what you got?
Nothing much, guys. Y'all check this out. I'm enjoying this conversation so far. I think that we need to get a few things out the way. Number one, I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat trying to compare FCS programs to P4 FBS programs. Folks, we are not the same. So I need us to really compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Comparing us to what the Big Ten and SEC does is a waste of time. We need to stop doing that. That's number one. Number two, the bad part about schools like Southern losing this past weekend, it wasn't losing to Nichols. That wasn't the bad thing. Is that you lost on high school day. Now, I don't know who was in charge of that, but you do not schedule a game like that for high school day under any circumstances. I mean, I don't know who. I mean, like that. I mean, that was nuts. And then the other thing is, and this is something that I think that Scott brought up last night too. And this is something that I think that the next generation, well, I guess like our current generation needs to understand. Kids are not making choices on where they go for HBCU love and HBCU status anymore. Those days are dead. They're not coming back. If we are going to ask our kids to come to our schools to be competitive and whatnot, then we need to start having football conversations. There was a conversation I actually had with a gentleman who actually graduated from Southern. And I asked him a question one day. I said, what's the difference if you were to lose to Hampton by 21 and lose to, say, Furman by 21? What's the difference? His words were, and I quote, the Furman loss would just feel different. When did playing games against schools who don't look like us from a historical mission perspective feel different? If we're going to really make this next step, then we have to look at football as football, no matter who the opponent is. But then answer your question also. Now, let me say this. Bishop, you talked about playoff experience you had at FAMU. We had one similar at Cookman where I went. We went 10-1, had a first round bye in the playoffs, hosted New Hampshire. I was at that game. They beat the brakes off. It was 45-20. Now, of course, people always say, okay, well, if they're because of PWI, etc. But then a similar experience happened with you and Coach Simmons, having us and Coach Jenkins. He was fairly outcoached. We started looking at who we played against. We played no one leading up to that game. Now, deep down, we knew we played nobody. But it was more important for us to, quote-unquote, look good at 10-1 than it was to actually be ready for that kind of competition. So the question now becomes, are we really preparing ourselves for these kind of opponents, or do we just care about looking good, talking trash, bragging, saying we should be this, where our ranking is, when deep down you know you're not about that smoke?
I can't argue that point. I can't argue that point. I think again, BJ Jones and I think it was Reggie Flood tweet. Do we want to just be SWAC good, or MEAC good, or HBCU good, or do we want to be in 1978 and what A&T was a couple of years ago, where we were good? Well, it didn't make a difference who we played. We beat them. Listen, those wins that the SWAC got out of conference, that was Grambling. Grambling State was good. They weren't SWAC good. They were good.
I think they beat Oregon one year.
And Oregon State. That's when he broke the record.
Yeah, and I think they beat SMU one year as well.
Exactly. So that's good. That ain't HBCU good. That's not SWAC good. That's football good. Beating University of Miami is football good.
You know, I always say, guys, you know, that's why everybody just can't be a head coach. You know, you got to really pick guys that understand their systematic way of doing things. I'm a black college guy, of course you guys know. What I see and what I experienced, and I know that was in the 80s, but I also coached in the 90s and the 2000s, you know, and was a head coach in the 2000s. And at the end of the day, I mean, we played University of Tennessee Chattanooga at Tennessee State and beat them like 49-7 or 14. You know, it was just, it's you gotta know how to run a program. It's like you said, Rocky, the schools gotta make a commitment. It's like you said, Coach Campbell, we gotta have a strong alumni that get those kids those opportunities. And like I'm saying, you gotta have programs where you got your players feeling like they bigger than they are. You know, like we would take our players to the middle schools around the school so they could go in there on reading day. You know what I mean? Just like a quote unquote a Division 1A school does. And you could do it at your level. It might not be as big and grand, but you're making those kids feel a part of something besides just going to school and then coming down and practice and playing. And I'm still speaking of being PWI school. I think, and I know some people are like, what that got to do with football? Well, them the guys is not good coaches. It has everything to do with it.
And I'll just this is just the last thing I'll say. I think it builds the more credibility that the HBCU brands have in football, the more credibility it builds among Black people and the culture as a whole. You understand? Because the last thing because I know for many years what I did when I looked at scores, I looked at, man, LSU beat Grambling 70-7. You know what I mean? That's what I looked at. And I looked at it as a far inferior product at a glance. All the historical context didn't register with me as a football fan. You understand what I'm saying? It didn't register.
What did I tell you about? What did we discuss or I told you about being careful about playing those state schools like that? If I'm going to get my butt whooped, I'm not going to get my butt whooped in Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get my butt whooped somewhere else. So when I'm recruiting Louisiana, I don't have to fight that fight. Yeah, you'll go to LSU because they're a bigger school, but you won't choose LSU over me because you don't beat me 90-0. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why Southern played Nicholls State when you ain't ready for Nicholls State and beat 58-7. And like my man said, you on school day, you know what I mean? On kids' day, coming to school, you pick a team like that and get beat 58-7. Well, who coming there? Man, it's a lot of strategy about it. It's a lot of why we had so much success at Tennessee State. You know, it's just a lot. You know.
Now, Coach, this is our first slide, and we're gonna get into recapping the games. This ain't gonna take long. We're gonna run through this. But looking at this slide, this slide is all PWIs versus Black colleges, right, Coach? Now I don't know if Lincoln in Pennsylvania is that a Black college?
It's Black school.
It's Black. Yeah.
Oh, okay. My apologies. So, but we all took Tennessee State. Excuse me. We all took Lindenwood in this game, if I'm not mistaken. And Tennessee State.
Did we? I thought we took Tennessee State, Coach.
Well, we knew Lindenwood was bad.
Yeah, no, I think we all took Tennessee State on this one. I think this is the one. I think you're talking about South Carolina State and Tennessee Tech, Rocky.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right, Coach. So what about this? What does this say about Hampton against Rhode Island? This seemed to be a very competitive game. Put up a lot of points. It was a home game for Hampton, and they ended up losing by 2 points. Is that a moral victory?
I I would say it is, and it was in overtime as well. But here's the deal: I got a childhood friend that graduated from Rhode Island, and he went to that game, and he said, "Coach, it was poorly attended." But remember now, Hampton and A&T, they went to this conference, which I don't think has a TV package, and maybe we need to look to see what are the benefits besides saying that.
Well, they do, Coach. They're with Flow Sports. I think the CA has Flow Sports because I think, and the reason why I know this because the guys from North Carolina A&T talk about that's how they watch their games through Flow Sports.
Okay, so we need to see the payout.
Right.
If it is a payout, because a lot of these decisions are made around money. But he said it was really poorly attended. So, but then again, if you can watch it on TV, I guess that's where the money comes in.
Yep. Well, what about this one? Of course, Morgan State. I don't think that's much mentioning. But I consider this game, this one right here, a moral victory. North Carolina staying within striking distance. North Carolina A&T staying within striking distance of Richmond. I think that was the more competitive games they've had this season after giving up 66 and 45 in back-to-back weeks. Is this an improvement for North Carolina A&T, Coach?
Well, I think it is. But, you got to go game by game. Now, this coming week, they get beat by 50. Maybe it was just a bad Richmond team. And we probably need to look at Richmond's. Maybe they ain't the Richmond that we know this year. So, I'll have teams go up and down.
All right, Coach. This right here, this game against Delaware State and St. Francis. Delaware State led a lot of this game, Coach, but St. Francis ended up winning the game. Seems like Delaware State is not the same old Delaware State. To me, seems like they're somewhat better. But they still may end up finishing in the bottom of the MEAC.
Yeah, they just Delaware State with whipped cream on top, but they still get their ass kicked. See, they still over. That's just Delaware State.
Okay, and we're going to move over to South Carolina, Tennessee Tech. This game right here was really a hard-fought game, very competitive game. This is the same Tennessee Tech team that outdueled Tennessee State. I think this is a good win for South Carolina to go on the road and get this win. What do you guys think about this win?
I think it's a big win. I think Chennisberry is way ahead. I mean, if Chennis think he gonna win it every year. He can go in there with no scholarship. He's still gonna talk about we gonna win. So this is just indicative of who he is, and he's way ahead of schedule. Tennessee Tech is a good Ohio Valley OVC consistent football program, and for him to beat them, that's big.
I'm going to just bring out, again, I'm not going to comment too much on the games, especially when I don't get a chance to, but I am going to, because I did peep in on this game, and I think this has to be talked about. Eric Phoenix went 17-31 for 412 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They only ran for 53 yards. So Eric Phoenix put this team on his back to get this win at Tennessee Tech. Now, one of the things that I want people to realize, do you realize if we put a list of the top 4 quarterbacks, Eric Phoenix is a former D2 quarterback, and David Wright is a D2 quarterback? That just lets you know some of the talent that we're looking at that maybe got overlooked. And Chennis was lucky enough because Phoenix left him, went and sat on the bench of the other team, and came back to him. So he kind of, that just showed a great relationship. And then you look at David Wright. So, but this kid here, man, for 412 yards in a game like this, like I said, only rushing because Duhart has been doing outstanding. He only had 30 yards rushing. And them being a running team is what they built their mantra on, and to go for 412 yards was amazing.
Right. He's getting it done.
Well, North Carolina's Central continues to dominate. They beat the black schools and the white schools. So Troy Oliver's doing one hell of a job over there, and it looks like South Carolina State looks like they're gonna be his only match. Maybe Morgan State is gonna give him a battle, but it looks like he's the odds-on favorite. North Carolina Central is to win the MEAC going into 2 weeks away from MEAC play.
You left off one. Oh, definitely. North Carolina Central. It's gonna come down to North Carolina Central and South Carolina State for the championship game, and really for the championship game. And it's gonna be tough for a team from the SWAC to beat them in the Celebration Bowl. But this Norfolk State team, you remember, Rocky? I can still remember when we were down on that football field, and he was like, "Man, Norfolk is big. They're huge, Coach. They're huge." And wow, they are getting their butt.
I mean, they were a very impressive group, especially in the offense and defensive line, Coach, in the trenches, and for the better part of 3 quarters, they played like they looked. But it seems like since losing the game to FAMU in the 4th quarter, they had looked the same the rest of the season, Coach, to be honest with you. I don't know what FAMU took out of them that night in Atlanta, but they had looked nowhere near the way they looked the first 3 quarters of that, or at least the first half of that game.
Offensively, man, they need some help.
Let me just point out this. I tell you what they did look like against FAMU. They ran for 283 yards against Sacred Heart. Davion Evans went for 22 carries, 166 yards. And Fonte Webb followed that up with 9 carries and 79 yards. So they ran the ball. But here's the thing. Once again, they're passing 36 yards passing total. 36 yards. How is that even possible? 36 yards. Now, we know well, and we'll get to that because Alabama State has 0 pass yards and a half, so I guess it is possible. But, again, to think about this, if I told you ran for 283 yards, what do you think happened in that game?
You won the game.
Thank you. That just is utterly amazing to me that you ran for 283 yards. Now, Sacred Heart only threw for 59 yards. They ran for 184 yards. So the game, again, Sacred Heart looks like –
Coach, had to be turnover.
Well, it looks like, and then again, 1 fumble loss, and in the end, they didn't throw the ball, but they had 1 fumble and 1 interception. So that might have been the difference in the game. For, like I said, again, we want to be on. I didn't get a chance to see. But again, just looking at this, it just stuck out to me when I saw 283 yards rushing, and you just can't get that done. That's just amazing.
All right, Coach. These here games right here, and I put these games on the screen, particularly Prairie View and Southern on the same screen for a reason. Prairie View went to Incarnate Word and got mollywopped. They had a competitive quarter, and then in the second half, in second quarter it got bad, but then it got worse as the game went on. And so Incarnate Word won going away. Looked like Prairie View couldn't stop a nosebleed in that game as the game wore on. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the teams when they play PWI. Is our Incarnate Word that good? I don't think so.
Yeah, I have to just go back to Norfolk. We were talking about Norfolk. They're averaging 15 points a game. 15 points. The national average is about 25, 24. So they're almost down 2 touchdowns. But go ahead. Incarnate Word is a good program, Coach. They really, really do a great job of recruiting the Texas area. You look at them at the past couple of years, they've had some so-so and good seasons. So they got a good program going on out that way. I was able to watch the game. Prairie View had 2 big plays in the first half, and everything else was short. It was stopped. And then in the second half, that's when they blew it open. Incarnate Word blew it open, and then Prairie View scored again at the end. So it seemed like they had the game under control from Gabe out the block. But Prairie View did play well. They played very well in the first half.
Looks like they just gave up a lot of yards in the passing game and gave up a lot of yards in the running game. So, they gave up over 500 yards total offense. So, Prairie View, they gave it up. They didn't have any fumbles, and they had and Prairie View had no turnovers. So they got beat by 28 points and didn't have any turnovers. So it was a pretty sound victory by Incarnate Word. So next thing is UAPB and Alcorn State. I thought this was far more competitive than the actual score, the final score looks. You know what I mean? I thought there were times in this game that UAPB, was going to pull the upset. But, Alcorn found a way at the end of the game to pull it off. This is how we thought it would end up. We thought Alcorn State would win. But is UAPB going to be a much tougher out than we thought they were going to be coming into the season?
I don't think anything changed with UAPB. Hagens went 14-28, 237 yards, 3 TDs. Xavier Vaughn for Alcorn looks like he finally got his act together. Did for 157 yards, 2 TDs. Gibson did 7 receptions, 108 yards, 3 TDs. Again, this is what scares me about UAPB, what hurts me. This kid is playing so well. Is he going? And I just hate having this conversation, but it's just weird. This is where we're at now. Is he even going to be there next year? Because he's showing so much talent. Is he going to be where other schools say, "Hey, you come over here with the talent you have, come with us, and you play for a winning program"? And just one quick thing about Incarnate Word. Just remember that Cam Ward, who might be the Heisman Trophy winner, played at Incarnate Word a couple of years ago. So they are a top program and have been so for a couple of years now. So I just wanted to point that out.
Let's take a pause right there for a second. Let's take a pause for a second and just discuss this for a minute. How surprising is it that the top 2 quarterbacks in major college football were recruited or played in the FCS as freshmen? Is that surprising to you guys, being longtime fans of the SWAC and also FCS football?
Well, here's the thing about it. And Coach, you could correct me if I'm wrong. They would have probably had to have stayed at this level because of the old transfer rules. You would have had to sit out. That's the thing about it. If we don't have these transfer rules that, hey, you can just come and go, because if you came down, you could play immediately. But if you went up or you went lateral, you had to sit out a year.
And you're so right. And in the COVID year, all these kids are playing 5 and 6 years. I mean, hitting the field 5 and 6 years. So they are able to develop on the lower level.
Now Cam Ward and Shador were 2020 quarterbacks. So do you think that may have factored into the fact that they may not have been recruited?
Well, Shador was going with that. He was going to FAU, and Cam Ward, from my understanding, was a wing T quarterback.
Yeah.
So that had a lot to do with it. I think, again, sometimes you get put in a position high school wise where you don't get to show the talent that you are.
Right.
So let me ask you this. If a FCS school develops a kid like that, should they have the ability to hold on to a kid like that? Does that kid owe that school anything? Or should they be able to go and play at the highest level?
I think the school is after him just like in the pros. When they go after a quarterback, they take his contract and they negotiate. Meaning, let's just say Texas Southern got a great guy and Texas won it. I think Texas ought to pay that school, and work some contract out with the kid. Don't hold the kid back, but make sure that school gets, I don't know whether they want to do it by years the kid was there, days, months, how many games he started, his stats, I don't know. But to help all this thing out about about, you got a bunch of farm teams for the SEC and the Pac.
Oh, so that's what I was talking about, and that's what I was kind of leading into. So you believe, Coach, that there should be some compensatory some compensation for the school who has the player transfer up a level.
Right, ain't no doubt. I mean, and then you got the kid on scholarship, so you paying him indirectly there as well. You know what I mean? They got to do something to try to slow that down.
So what about this, Coach? This is just what comes to mind. If they take a Cam Ward, they have to pay the school a full scholarship for that kid.
Yeah.
Now again, how many years of full scholarship? I guess it would depend on how many years the kid would play at the next level, but that would provide some real compensation for an FCS school that gets a kid recruited out. Then they get a monetary compensation for that. And it doesn't hurt their program. They can go and replace that player, without, having to. They get money. They get a scholarship that's fully funded that they don't have to pay for losing that kid. I think that's or how about this? An additional scholarship in addition to the 63 or 65 that they already have. So there's something to think about.
Things NCAA is involved, and now you got more scholarships than the other teams on that level. I think you had it going where they can pay you that scholarship, that loss of scholarship for them taking that kid. I think that's a great idea, and and everything else that you've done to help that kid get where he needs to get, they got to do something. Yeah. So what we got next, Coach?
All right, so this is what I want to get to. This game right here, Coach. I just want you to talk about this. What does this do for your program when you when you have a school? You pay a like school, FCS school, you invite them to your place, and they beat the dog crap out of you in front of your fans, in front of your recruits. What does that do to your program, Coach?
I think it just hurts you when you lose to a team at your level like that. I don't see what you gain on playing a school like that. If I'm going to play a school outside the conference, just my opinion, I'm gonna make sure that it's gonna make a positive look at my program, because some kids, even though you lose to some of these big schools, some kids will come just because you do play those type of schools, big FCS schools. But to go down the nickel and get beat 51-7.
No, this is a home game, Coach.
I mean, I'm sorry. Bring them to Southern. Woo, that just bad all around. I heard the head coach's show, and he was kind of trying to just kind of blow it off and blow it away, but I just didn't think that was good.
Hey, I'll let Campbell open this one up, Coach, since you covered the game, Campbell.
Well, this is what I expected. And I think what people got to give credit, and this is a fact, Alabama State has the best defense in the SWAC. No doubt about it. And you saw that defense do everything possible to really hold the Rattlers down. I think this was Daniel Richardson, honestly, it was his worst game to me because he threw 2 interceptions. He's been really good on the ball. I think those 2 throws and this was a question I asked Coach Colsey about this, is that there were plays I think Richardson thought he could make when there was actually the play call for him to make the correct play. And I think that's one of the things that Coach Cole is probably going to say, play within yourself. Don't try to overextend the play when we've got what we call that could be successful. One of the things that I wanted to see from FAMU, and again, we were hoping that we would stop the run. And this is FAMU has done this constantly. First half, and again, they're 140 yards, 75 of that came on one run. So, and I think that was Deco was right there and just missed the tackle. It was right there, squared up, just missed the tackle, and the guy just went 70 yards. You take that away, we pretty much contained Alabama State. But with that being said, you want to see FAMU to play better. We got to just be honest. We want to see them play better going into the Jack State game. I still think there's opportunities. Again, I think offensively, I think we're fine. Again, I think we need to execute a little bit better. But Dane Richardson, Ace Cobb, Gassett, those guys, I think we're fine. And again, once again, we still FAMU. It tickles me about our running game, because to me, we passed the step our running game, because we still ran over 100 yards again. And we ran over 100 yards literally on every game. So we're running the ball. We're not running 200-300 yards. But if I can get 100 yards rushing, Richardson's giving me 250, 300 yards in the air, as coach's point, we get almost 400 yards in offense. Now, however you get it is how you get it. But what I would like to do is see us execute better on offense, scoring the touchdowns. That's what I really want to see. But I think FAMU has set themselves up, and I think they understand what the mission is to go to Jack State, because that is going to be a hard-fought game. And again, if I had to be honest with you, I think Jack State would be favored. I think they're playing better than FAMU right now. But I think what FAMU has the advantage is they played all these close games. I don't think they're going to be worried if they're down a touchdown. And I think that does bode well. So if they can stay in the game, they can say, we've been here before. Jack State, this team has not been there because they haven't won anything yet. So my thing is, again, Jackson State, FAMU, if we could stay with them, because like I said, those guys run out against us, 14, 21 points, then Jack State's going to win that game. But if we can kind of do what we've been doing, kind of hang around, make a play, I think our offense will make a play to win the game. But overall, I want to say one other thing too. Shout out to the people at Alabama State, because that was an amazing environment. The stadium was amazing. The people were amazing. Shout out to the people that watched the Off-Script channel. I had a bunch of people say, hey, Mr. Campbell, where Thick 36 at? That was pretty funny and everything. So, it's just really great to see how great this HBCU community is. And like I say, again, people doing all this talking on social media and stuff, that's not real people. Real people are the people at Alabama State that treated FAMU people outstanding. So for all those people that are on social media that are doing all that, you are not real HBCU folks. Real HBCU folks are real people that spoke to me and treated me with a whole bunch of respect.
Oh, good. I'm glad you had a good time down there, Coach.
Yeah, and shout out to it's Frederick Singleton, right, Rocky?
Yeah. Fred Singleton.
See, I always want to say something about that. Thank you to him for the press pass. I mean, the press box was amazing. It was great to see. And Coach, you know what? I kind of felt like you and me. You were sitting there. You could see the game totally different from that press box. You could see things happening before it happens because of the vantage point. And it was things that I said, Alabama State's getting ready to do this, because you could see it from the vantage point. So again, just amazing time. I was able to ask a couple of questions to Coach Cozy and stuff during the press conference. Shout out Josh Patil. Shout out to Coach Eddie Robinson, who said how much he enjoyed coming on the show. And everybody knows Eddie Robinson is one of my favorites because he's an 88 guy. But like I say, really impressed. And I think Alabama State is going to be a tough out no matter who's their quarterback.
Hey, Coach, my only assessment was I expected Florida A&M to win the game. I didn't think the struggle would last, a whole half. I thought y'all would get up on them and early and then just ride it on out. Looks like, for the better part of 3 quarters, it was a real tussle. And so for that, it made for a really good, entertaining game to watch. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, I mean, it was just like we said it was. You had a great defense. You had Florida A&M came through at the end. They bend, but they didn't break. The only thing I didn't like, you got at one point in the game, you got to try to win the game. You know what I'm saying? That means I got to do what it takes. If that's throwing the football, I got to do it. I mean, I thought they waited too late to try to make those things happen. I hope they didn't recruit this kid that can't throw the football at all. It is what it is. That's all a part of sports. It's next man up. And when the next man up, he's got to be able to perform. I understand, how to build a program around a kid. But at some point in time, you got to go downfield. You got to let him throw some 5-yard hitches. You know what I mean? You just got to be a little more creative offensively than to just say, and they know you gonna run, and you just steadily running every damn play, man. I just, you know, I get it though. I get it. But hey, 2018, great game, hard fought game. I thought both teams was good, but I just didn't think at a point in that game that Alabama's. I hate when you put in plays or you call a play in the fumble snap, or it's like you hadn't worked that play, you know. And maybe they did. They just messed up.
So one thing I can say about FAMU is in the past, they hadn't been a team that really turned the ball over a lot, right? They always have that one crucial turnover. I'll give them that in games. But this game, they returned the ball over 4 times, right? Do you think that was an anomaly, Mr. Campbell, or was it Russ?
Yeah,
3 weeks.
Again, talking to Coach Cole, I think Richardson took some chances because 2 of those interceptions, again, the play was called for it to go. So, and the guys that it was supposed to go to were wide open. I think Richardson has confidence, and I think he tried to make play. Because honestly, and Coach Cole even said this, because I asked him a question. Early in the game, we went for it on 4th down. I thought, based off of how we knew inadequate Alabama State would be, is punt the ball, let's block, hold them deep, have them punt back to us. But they went for it. So I think FAMU wanted to be aggressive because I guess they felt really early that we get up 14 points on this team, they wouldn't be able to come back on us. And I think they really tried to make plays to do that instead of actually taking what the defense gave them. So I expect Richardson to get more within himself against Jackson State because he can't make those mistakes against Jackson State. So I think they're going to go back to say, hey, let's keep the game on schedule. Hey, if it's 3rd down and 5, let's do the 3rd down and 5 play. Let's go for the 25. If the 25-yard play is there when we call it, because the one thing when we call those plays, they are there. I think he still needs to go to the actual first read because I think it's always open.
All right, Coach. Now, this game right here, Coach, between Jackson State and Florida A&M was interesting to me because of this. Jackson State, for thus part in this season, they've been a Jekyll and Hyde kind of team. When you talk about them soundly beating Southern and then coming out and laying an egg against Grambling. And then it looks like in this game, we saw both Jekyll and Hyde, meaning that they went up on them, I think, 45-10 or something like that. And A&M fought all the way back. What do you guys think about Jackson State performance? Obviously, early it was a dominating performance, but they let them score 21 points in the final quarter. So what do you guys think about that?
Man, that game was over quick and early. I think that he kind of let them come back. I think, A&M had 28 first downs. I mean, stat wise, it looked good. They had the ball for 40 minutes. Alabama A&M 40. You know what I'm saying? And you couldn't say it was turnovers because it was only 1 turnover per team. But they jumped up on them so fast and so quick. And one time, the score was 44 to 9, something like that. So I looked at when did A&M score. They scored at the last of the 3rd quarter, and then they scored, I think, 2 times in the last quarter to make it look like it was a tough game. But A&M, they moved the ball. But all that was late, though. It was late in the game. So I don't know. I mean, was it A&M playing Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde? I don't know. But I got to watch a little bit of it, looked at the highlights, and JSU ran through them quick, Coach, quick.
I was just surprised that Xavier Langford was able to pass that ball that well late in the game. Like that really surprised me. It not only surprised me because it was him, but it was surprised me because it all looked really easy, But but maybe it was the coverage they was playing. Maybe who knows? The game was out of reach at that, for most of that.
Yeah.
But that 14 points, you're saying those are pretty much cosmetic scores, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the game was really truly never in doubt, right?
Right.
Is what you're saying.
Right. They had them at one time 45-17, 38-10. It never was threatening. Even when I look at the scores, it was like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter when they scored. So it was seemed like it was a tough game, but I don't think so for Jackson State.
Well, I look at it like this. Jackson State, as they say, their first 22 is very talented. And this just shows, and again, like with any team, you just can't sit back there and think your backup's just going to finish the game out. Because from what I understood is that they took the guys out, which is smart. I don't blame them. I would take guys out too. Everybody knows what it is next game coming up. If I can get my young guys to get some time, if I can, keep my other guys healthy and things like that. But again, you get a quarterback, he starts get rolling, and then momentum starts going. And again, it wasn't even a lot of people, which shocked me. It was only I heard less than 20,000 people at this game or something like that. It wasn't a lot of people. So I guess Jackson State people don't want to travel this game either. So, I think, Jackson State did what they were supposed to do. I look at it for what it is. Jackson State, they scored the ball. That's the thing about it. It'd be different if they struggled scoring and they just shut Alabama A&M down. They didn't struggle scoring. They didn't have a problem. Jacoby Morgan had the Jacoby Morgan game. The rushing attack, it looks like they didn't go over 200 yards. Herb Mulligan looks like 16 carries, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. They had 140 yards total rushing. So you get 140 yards rushing. That's great. But Jackson State's ran for 200 yards in a couple of games. Right. So I think overall, I like Coach said, the game was over with. Because like I said, I text you guys when I looked at it. Coach was right. It was like 28-3. When I or something like 30, that, when I looked and I was,
it was 38-0 at one time.
Yeah. Well, Paris, you saying it's cap. I'm telling you what the Jackson State people saying that they took the. I didn't watch the game, so you either call in and tell us what happened, or if you did now, okay, I'm gonna go. This is my niece. She said that's cap, or I'm gonna say then your defense that you had your first team defense let 38 points happen. Now, which one is it? Now you can't have it both ways. So either your defense played bad with your first team players, or your second straight came in. Now, which one was it? So you answer that question for me, but I don't do no cap.
Well,
so
I'm gonna tell you exactly.
No, I'm sorry. No. Okay, wait. Let me apologize. She said she talked about the attendance. Okay, that's my niece because I thought she was talking about. Oh, wait a minute, because you said the third quarter. What you said third quarter, you don't take your game out. So, parents, that's what I'm talking about. You said third quarter, you don't take your guys out, or are you saying you should not take your guys out the third quarter? Okay, maybe that's what she's saying. Because I wanted to say, hold on, because them Jackson State folks was calling me, telling me, man, we took our players out. Because I was texting them like, what's going on? So I apologize to parents because I wanted to say, she said attendance, but there wasn't a lot of Jackson State folks in that game. I'm looking like y'all teasing us.
Well, there was a point in the game where I stopped watching it because I felt like Jackson State should have ran the ball every play in the second half. And there was a point where early in the third quarter, it was like 2nd and 10 or something like that, and they threw the ball. They threw the ball and threw an interception. I thought that was unnecessary. I thought they should have just kept running the football. But
let me say this: that's going to be the Achilles heel of Jackson State not beating Alabama State. Is if TC get cute and start throwing that ball when he should continue to mix it up. That's mark my word.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get to these picks and then we can get off, Coach.
Okay.
All right. We got Merrimack and Morgan State. I got Morgan State.
Morgan State.
Give me Morgan State.
All right, Bethune and A&M. Woo! I'm going to take A&M.
I'll take A&M.
I am going to die on this Bethune-Cookman hill. And I'm going to keep saying Bethune-Cookman until they win a damn game. Because I saw this team. I believe the team offensively can do some things. I'm not sold on Alabama A&M. And plus, I have a bet that they were only going to win 2 SWAC games. So they got to lose this game for me not to have to wear Alabama A&M gear. So, hey, man, my daughter, like I said, went to Bethune-Cookman. I think they are going to go to Alabama A&M and finally play a complete game and win this game.
So what? So if they don't win, what happens? And you win the bet.
I got to wear Alabama A&M stuff.
No, I'm saying if you're right and they don't win.
If I'm right, then the guy Jay White, Alabama A&M, he's got to wear FAMU stuff and say how great FAMU is.
All right. Hey, our coach maybe froze a little bit right now. But we can go and get ahead and get moving. Let me see. Tennessee State and Illinois. Who you got?
You know, I have not got a chance. Somebody's going to have to tell me in the chat because East Illinois has traditionally been a pretty good squad. I have not seen what they're playing at. But again, this game is at Tennessee State. You know, let me take a look at that before I make that pick because I want to make sure when I say this because I like to be accurate because I have not, again, I apologize for guys. So Eastern Illinois is 1-5, 0-2 in the Big South. Tennessee State 4-2, 2-1. I'm going to take Tennessee State then. If Eastern Illinois is 1-5, I'm going to take Tennessee State.
I'm going to take Tennessee State as well. I'm going to take Tennessee State. And then on this one, I'm going to be honest with you on this one. Mississippi Valley has a chance to win, in my opinion, because I don't think Alabama State can put up that many points.
But I'm telling you something. I want you to understand. As good, see, this is what I think people don't understand. FAMU's offense was playing against Alabama State's #1 defense. That's the reason why we didn't struggle against their offense. That wasn't a problem. Their offense only scored 10 points. So that wasn't a problem. We played their defense, and all those guys are there. So now, I'm sorry. Valley is not – and this game is in Montgomery, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. Now, Eddie Robinson not going to lose. Eddie Robinson.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one.
That dude, listen, man, Eddie Robinson's built different, bro. I think people don't really realize. That dude still has that NFL intensity right now. And the brother look good. Y'all ain't going to lie. Brother, like he still go out there and play. So now I got to take Alabama State.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to take Alabama State. But is Valley going to go winless?
Well, have they played UAPB yet?
No.
There you go. That's their only chance to get a shot at a win.
Wow.
But I think that's their permanent cross match. So that's the bottom bowl game.
All right, let's go with the next. Sacred Heart and Howard.
Sacred Heart and Howard. Let me see what we got.
I'm going to take Howard. Sacred Heart played Norfolk to a 10-3 victory. Norfolk ran for almost 300 yards on them.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say Howard's going to win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to take Howard, too. I just want to make sure when I was looking, because, again, not because, again, I was at the game, not being able to look and review a lot of this. But, yeah, I'm going to go Howard also.
All right. What about Townsend and Norfolk State?
Whew. You know, Townsend 2-3, Norfolk State 2-5. You know, I'm sorry, man. I just thought Norfolk State would just be better. I think they're going to run the ball again, but they can't score. Like Coach said, they can't score. They're at 15 points a game. They can't score.
Yeah. So I got Townsend on this one. And then I didn't even ask us to pick this one. We know who we got on the Lynchburg HBCU. But this is an interesting one right here. Delaware State and Robert Morris.
Yeah.
I like Delaware State. I really do. I think they got some. I think they're going to pull out a victory.
Hey, Delaware State has played everybody tough this year. This game is at Robert Morris. You know, can Delaware State get this win? I mean, it's about execution with Delaware State. I think we all agree with that. If they can execute and, again, score the touchdown when it needs to be scored, then they win this game. But with that being said, they haven't done it all year. I'm going to go pick Robert Morris.
All right. Now, this is okay. This is not a big game because of the implications of the game. this is a big game because it's the SWAC being showcased on a Friday night on ESPN2. That's why I think it's a big game. And I think anytime the SWAC can get national attention will be, it's a great thing. I'm gonna take Prairie View on this one. But there's something special about that UAPB quarterback. He'll be the best player on the field, but I'm gonna take Prairie View on this one.
Hagen's on the season, 1,225 yards, 10 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Prairie View looks like they finally got their quarterback with Johnson. But the question is, can they get Shamar Savage involved? This has been the biggest thing that I'm going to keep. You cannot have Shamar Savage only having 1 or 2 catches a game. The kid might be the most talented wide receiver in the SWAC. I heard there's some issues, down there as far as, understanding the plays and things like that. But I don't care, man. Run them some bubble screens. Run the kid on it, man. You got to throw the kid 6-7 balls, man. You got to throw the kid 6-7 balls. So, with that being said, man, the game, I'm going down this PVA Prairie View hill. I'm just going down this hill, man. I just believe that I'm a big fan of Bubba McDowell, and I just believe that Prairie View's got to have some courage and guts. If they lose this game, I mean, honestly, they lose this game, people going to be like, Bubba McDowell got to go. I'm being honest, because then they're going to say is when you looked up and won against Grambling.
Yeah.
And they really got to get something together. Because like I said, they're still in it. You know what I mean? They're still in it. So they can't say they don't have something to play for. They have something to play for. So come on, PV, don't make me look back. I picked you number 1. Like I said, I like you guys. Lionel's my nephew. He's doing a great job with his show. So PV, come on and get your uncle win over here.
All right, who you got, Coach? PV, UAPB.
They playing at UAPB?
Yes.
I'm going to take the upset. UAPB.
Oh, okay.
Woo-wee.
Coach, they won 1 game all year, Coach.
Mm-hmm. They waiting to win 2. I don't know what PB team is going to show up. That's all.
Good point.
And they had a lot of changes and stuff.
Hey, do we even have to ask you on this one, Coach? I'm gonna let you go first on this one, but do we have to ask you?
Oh man, Texas Southern all the way.
I'll let you go, Campbell.
Listen, Southern's 2-3, 1-0 in the SWAC. Got that big victory. Texas Southern 2-3, 1-1 in SWAC. Again, this is when the West is going to be won in games like this. Texas Southern, if they want to show they're not pretenders, they got to win this game. Southern coming off of a very bad loss. Very bad loss. Texas Southern winning their homecoming game. Defense played pretty well against Jackson State. I got to go with Texas. Chris Dishman, I'm just trying to tell you, I just like the calmness about that guy. I think he's not too high. And again, what kills me, he was a stone cold killer at that cornerback position. But that dude's demeanor is just ice cold. So again, I'm just going to have to go with Texas Southern, man. Southern, I'm sorry, I'm not satisfied with what you guys are doing. So I'm taking Texas Southern. I cannot believe this, that I would ever say I'm taking Texas Southern over Southern Grambling or Jackson State. But I'm taking Texas Southern.
Now, if you look at the history of this game, in the last 4 years, I want to say Texas Southern is up. They beat them 25-0 Dooley's year. They beat them the year before that. They had them beat last year, and Dooley ended up pulling it off. But yeah, we'll see. It's a Houston team.
I've been personally waiting for Southern's season to collapse. I've said it. Me and you've talked a number of times, Coach Cole. I just don't think Southern is a good team, and maybe that's why Terrence Graves won't come on the show, because I said he doesn't have, because I don't think Southern's team is very good. If in fact they're able to sweep the Texas teams, in my opinion, they poised to be in the running to win the West. If they're able to sweep PV and Texas A&M, also understanding that they got a game against UAPB that's a winnable game, right?
Right.
They poised to sweep the West. I mean, they poised to win the West because they would have exceeded my expectations immensely.
Well,
Immensely. So, with that being said, I got Texas Southern in this game, and you know, I want Southern. You know, again, I want Southern to be who they truly are. I don't want Southern to do what PV did, which is handing the game.
yeah.
PV handed Southern the game, in my opinion. Texas Southern has proven to be pretty sound, a pretty sound team. They play fundamentals, not too dynamic offensively, but they play within themselves, and I think they'll pull out the victory.
Paris, we sorry, babe, but hey, man, Southern is they're just not consistent at all. And Texas Southern is just a solid team.
Well, I know. Okay, so I know the first time I saw Texas Southern beat, Texas Southern beat Southern. Jason Rollins' head rolled. The next time, I think that contributed to Dooley's head rolling. you know.
Hey, Coach, listen, let me tell you what I love about Southern people. Now, Edwin Moore is my guy. I mean, and he supports us, watch the show all the time. Shout out to Edwin Moore, supports all the channels. He says sweeping Texas is not SU's concern. Grambling and FAMU are Southern's concern. Hey, man, bro, y'all better be worried about Texas Southern, talk about worried about Grambling and FAMU. Bruh, come on now, Edwin. Come on now. FAMU you shouldn't even be thinking about FAMU. You shouldn't even be thinking about because, bruh, y'all lose this game because doesn't Southern play Alcorn after this? I think. Man, y'all boy, you talk about getting the FAMU, man. Y'all coach my name be coaching by the time y'all get to the FAMU game.
Ain't this guy a Southern guy right here? Is Adrian Crook a Southern guy?
Yeah, Adrian Crook is old Southern guy, old Southern Crook.
Do ass mean something else in Louisiana other than what it means everywhere else? He said his quarterback is ass. Wow.
Yeah, no. It means exactly what. That's one thing about Crook. He gonna tell it what it is. I might not like some of the stuff he say, but he gonna say what it is.
All right. Okay. What did he say? What does Adrian Crook say? We're gonna win the West. No. Yeah. I'm not saying you're gonna win the West. I'm saying that if you sweep Texas Southern and Prairie View, you're in a great position.
Oh yeah, hey, yeah. Like I said, but according to Edwin Moore, that's light work. They already got that in the bag. They worried about Grambling and SU. I mean, FAMU.
All right. And he
said,
"Go ahead."
No. He said, "I'm not thinking about FAMU. I'm just telling you, we're not worried about Texas Southern." He said, "Edwin, you literally said Grandview and FAMU are Southern's concern. You literally said that. So you're not thinking about it. You said that's their concern."
So I'm not. So let me say this. Let me just say this. I'm telling you, we're not worried about Texas Southern. What in the hell are you talking about, Edwin? Have you seen your team play?
Hey man, Edwin's that what's that Columbia blue? Man, I don't know what blue. Columbia blue. What's that? What's Southern's colors?
If Southern line up against the Little Giants, they should be concerned. You hear me? I mean, y'all just got beat 51-7 at home. At home, at your house.
Y'all barely throwing over 100 yards.
They got beat by McNeese 21-7.
Yeah.
Hey man, I like the comment. You one thing I love about them Southern folks. Hey man, Southern, I understand. When FAMU was where y'all was at, we said the same thing. I get it. And we were 1-10.
My sister is a Southern alumni, and I thought she was just high-minded. I guess they are high-minded, huh?
That is, and he said we beat Prairie View's butt. Hell, everybody's beating Prairie View's butt.
Man,
That's why we worry about them. That's why Coach picked UAPB to beat them.
Man, y'all beat them 31-24. Get out of here. Stop it.
That's what I'm saying. Come on, man.
This is quote unquote the upset weekend SWAC.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next game. Enough of those Southern people. All right. Now, to me, this is the biggest game in the SWAC this week.
Thank you.
Because this literally, if there was a West championship game, this could be it. This could be it. This game may end up deciding who plays FAMU or Jackson State in the SWAC championship. I've seen Grambling. I believe Grambling is a good team. And I'm gonna go ahead and pick Grambling on this one. I believe they got the most things going for them. They got Coach Joseph. They got Miles Crawley. And they playing in the hole. So I just think they got the most things going for them. So I'm gonna take Grambling in this game.
I got Grambling for some of those same reasons.
I'm gonna say this, and I've told people this. I love HBCU football. Grambling is one of those teams I've always loved. Grambling is going to do just like I said they're going to do Jackson State. They're going to put those old school jerseys back on. They're going to have that G shined up, and they're going to be all corner in that hole. Because these are games that Grambling wins historically. Are they going to beat them down? Are they going to beat them down? No, I don't know. I don't think Grambling's a beat them down team. I think Grambling, what they are in that hole in this season, because I feel it, because I felt it against Jackson State, is that there's a level of confidence that I think that they have when they play down there, because again, this is one of the schools where, and Coach knows this, a lot of their alumni football players, and I'm talking about them old heads, come back to the games. And they talk to these guys all during the week and tell them, we didn't lose Alcorn. And it gives these guys a quiet confidence that I think this team understands. So, hey, man, I'm going, like I say, I am going to take Grambling. I'm not sold on Alcorn. Alcorn has not done anything, even though they're 2-0 on the SWAC. But look who they played.
Right.
To get those two victories.
Well, this is what I want to ask you guys, because I want y'all to see this, and I'm gonna bring this. I'm gonna bring this up. Hold on, if I can get to the schedule anyway. Because I see something very interesting in this Grambling schedule. In this Grambling schedule. All right. They have Alcorn. If they win that game, right, can we pencil them into the SWAC championship, considering they have UAPB, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State, and Alabama A&M?
Wow.
And then finish Southern.
No, he's talking about Grambling, right?
Grambling.
Yeah. If they beat Alcorn, can we pencil them in for the SWAC championship? Considering they got UAPB, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State, and Alabama A&M, and finish the season with Southern. Can we pencil them in?
You should be able to. There's a difference. You should be able to.
So Southern right now, they've got how many conferences? So Southern, let me look at Southern real quick. Southern got what? What are they in the conference? So they've got one conference, and they haven't lost anything. See, this is what's interesting about this. Grambling already has a conference loss. So you're saying they run the table. Here's the crazy thing about this and what's important. Grambling can run it. Southern loses to FAMU, they only have one conference loss. Because again, let's just play this out. Because if they lose to Alcorn, then it's a problem. But this game, the Bayou Classic, actually means something for the first time in a long time. But if I'm going to pick it, because I believe Southern's going to lose to Alcorn, I believe Southern's going to definitely lose to FAMU. There's no doubt. So that's two losses right there. So I think Grambling, like I say, wins the West because of that. I think that FAMU loss knocks them out.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I got best case scenario for Southern. I believe they lose to Texas Southern, Alcorn, FAMU. That's 3 losses.
Yeah, that would probably put them out. Because Grambling, if at worst, they would only have one more loss to So that means they only have 2 losses.
And then with Alabama State being in that situation that they're in, even though Alabama State has a great defense, will they be able to put up enough points, in a game against Grambling? Like, those are the things that I've been, Where is that
game? Where does Grambling play Alabama State at?
It is
at Alabama State.
It's in the hole. It's in the hole.
Oh well, yeah. No, Grambling's winning that game. There's no way that Alabama State win that game down there with that offense.
Man.
Yeah.
No way.
It's gonna be a low-scoring game, though.
So this is crazy. After the 19th, you could have 2 teams penciled in at the SWAC championship.
Yeah.
After the 19th. Now they be penciled in, but if put it like this, if FAMU wins, you definitely can pencil them in because they'd have to lose twice in order to get, they'd have to lose twice.
Right.
And certainly you could, and then based on the schedule, how the schedule lines up for Grambling, you could pencil those guys in if they just beat Alcorn this weekend. Again, that's why this game is a big game. This is a big game. Now, my question is Grambling the kind of team that if they beat Alcorn, can you count on them to run in the table against UAPB, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama A&M, Texas Southern?
The Texas Southern game would be the one that I think Grambling will be most worried about because the rest of those teams are going to be bad teams that's going to have well, let me tell you now, the UAPB game, where's that game at? That game should be a UAPB, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's in the hole.
This is set up for Grambling. It is set up for Grambling to really get through this because the big games are at home. And I'm sorry, I think Grambling. I think Grambling. This ain't the Grambling team the last couple of years. I think Miss Mickey Joseph has his team mentally stronger and really, and I think he was really upset after that Prairie View loss.
Yeah.
I think he was real upset. And I like when a coach is like, this is not the standard what we're trying to set here. So I'm sorry. I like Grambling for what they're set up to do.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I just want to let you know, guys, we failed again. I don't know what it is, but we end up doing 3 hours every Tuesday. I'm not going to put 3 hours on the calendar, but we've done it 3 weeks in a row. So it is what it is, fellas. So, but no, man, it's been a great show. I really enjoyed Gerald Thomas from the Tallahassee newspaper coming on the show. Coach Cole, I appreciate you taking time out while you're traveling, visiting your mother to do the show. Certainly appreciate you and Mr. Campbell. Thank you again for giving all your knowledge and expertise and covering the Florida A&M. I know it was a tough task. I know it took time out your schedule, your busy schedule.
Man, listen, man. I enjoyed that way, but man, I'm too old to be partying, man. I don't drink. I don't need no food to eat. I'm a football fan, and it was an honor. Thank you, Rocky. And Coach Cole, I want to thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity because, like I say, as anybody knows, I grew up with this. I love this, and I thank you for the opportunity. But just let me be around a SWAC legend. Because I told my cousin, he said, Johnny Cole, he said, hold on, he played out at Texas. I said, yeah, my cousin played in Southern. He played against you too. So he knows exactly who you are. So yeah, he watches now.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, so now on the 19th, I'll be covering the Southern Alcorn game. You'll be covering the FAMU Jackson State game. And Coach Cole, what you gonna be covering on the 19th?
I'll be with Bluefield and Bowie State in Maryland.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, Coach, it's getting bigger and better. We just gotta keep moving forward, man, and get them lights, and strike those lights. But another good show, like you said, and man, I'm having a great time with Mom, just kind of turned all the engines off and just giving her all my time. And I think that's very important in your life, man. Just to sometimes go back where you started from and just refresh yourself. So it is good to see her. Like I said, she's 90 years old, but she still moves around, you know. And we ate some good oxtails today and
Watch out.
jerk chicken, and you know, we just spend a lot of time together, which is important.
Absolutely, absolutely, Coach. If you don't have anything, Mr. Campbell, we can turn it over to Coach.
Yeah, I got one thing. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say it. And I'm gonna get to people. Gonna get tired this week. October 19th, Jackson State and FAMU play. It's a big football game. In 1961-62, FAMU and Jackson State played Orange Blossom Classic Black College National Championship. 1978, played again in the playoffs. Now this is another big game in this historic rivalry, two blue bloods. But what I am going to ask again is let's keep it respectful. So to my FAMU folks, don't nobody want to hear about no potholes, no dirty water, Dion. To my FAMU folks, to my JSU folks, don't nobody want to hear about OBG and $237. We've got football we could talk about. Let's have respect for each other. Let's honor this. The game is going to be on TV. That means people know this is a big game. So I'm just asking all of you all that have, for some reason, like to hide behind Twitter and get on roughing the SWAC and disrespect Jackson, Mississippi, and disrespect FAMU's band and all that. Cut it out. Cut it out. Act like you are an HBCU alumnus and be proud that we are able to talk about our football. So I'm just going to keep saying that. People are going to get sick of me. But I didn't grow up, Coach. I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with a lot of respect. You know, we kept it between the lines. When you saw another person from another school after the game was over, you had a drink with them and you said, I'll see you next year. That's what I grew up with. This new generation, I don't know what's wrong with them. But I'm going to call them out for it because they're disrespecting the traditions and these rivalries. So for you all, and you know who you are, FAMU folks, Jackson State folks, and folks that try to come in my positive post to talk about this boathism, none of it's right. And I'm going to keep calling y'all on it because that's not how y'all are raised. So respect Jackson State. Because I know Jackson State people. Jackson State people don't talk bad about folks. I know FAMU people. They don't talk bad about folks. So if you call yourself a Jackson State person, prove it. Be the class that the Tigers are. Be the class that the Rattlers are. And I'll see y'all October 19th.
Okay. All right. Big game. Man, look, like I told you guys, I came out here early, man, and I would recommend everybody within the 360 days to just go sit with mom or go sit with your dad if you still have them in your life, because I think it's important because they like that, you know. And my mom is here, but you know, I got brothers. I got 7 brothers that they make sure that she's always taken care of. But hey, I'm gonna go and get on out of here. As I say, I'm here at Citrus State's homecoming. They playing Clark, Atlanta. Guys, do me a favor, everybody. It's a free streaming. Go to HBCU Gold TV. It's free streaming if you want to see Black College, and it's just more than sports. It's about Black people talking about Black schools and talking about accomplishments and achievements. I think Mr. Byron Allen, who's a billionaire, Black man, is on to something. So go and support HBCU Gold TV. And as I always say, man, life is beautiful. And that's the way you got to look, even in your downs, you know, because the only way you grow is that you get down. The thing about it is don't be afraid of failing, be afraid of not trying. So if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, tie a knot and hold on tight because ain't nobody bad like you.